Okay, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Yeah, seems like.
Good morning.
Welcome to this masterclass. I'm glad we can finally again have a masterclass together, and I'm very glad to see you all here, that you registered. And I make a short introduction. My name is Freddy Wehrli. I'm organizing this together with Daniel von Niederhäusern and with Aisatu. She is in the background taking care on the virtual techniques for us. So we are here in Zurich, so we have a kind of hybrid event, not a full online event. So it's also good for our speaker that he doesn't need to talk just into a screen, that at least the three of us are here in the room at Blue Lion at the former Zentralwäscherei in Zurich. So we have at least here a bit a classroom feeling, and we have set up a classroom camera so you get an idea what it is around. Building your personal brand. This is the subject of today and of next Saturday. And we have German Ramirez with us here, and he will take care on that. And I'm really glad that we could win him for this in this class, and I'm also eager to learn what I can improve on my personal brand. So we have a few small things. Please mute your microphone if you're not talking. We record this session, so a few of you can't be part of all of the 2 sessions, and we record it, and we would like to provide it then to all of you that registered here. So we figured out Zoom works best when you have your latest, the latest version installed. So if you haven't done that, maybe you can do it in a break. So German, he will tell you when you have questions how to address about that. There are possibilities in Zoom. Best is to raise your hand first and then use the Q&A and not only the chat. So the team, you know, should be at the right place. And as I said, we have 2 sessions today and next Saturday. So this is the part of this masterclass. Usually when we do it together in a classroom, we have it over a Saturday. And as it is online, we thought it's best to split up on 2 Saturdays. So here is German. I don't want to spend too much time on introducing him, but we are really glad we could win him for this class and we can profit from him. And I don't want to bore you with some more introduction. I hand over to German. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Freddy. Buenos dias. Buenos dias, everybody. Really happy to be here today. And I'm so thankful that Freddy, Daniel, and Isatu were able to set us up in a way that we can, that we can at least be among humans. I've been doing these trainings, what I call the two-dimensional version of it, obviously since the lockdown, and it's never the same. Last Wednesday, I had a first time full room with people again, and that's obviously a reason to look forward to. I will be, I'll look forward to spending the next 2 Saturday mornings with all of you, well, basically training you or sharing with you all the knowledge that I have or most of it at least, in regards to one of my absolutely favorite topics, which is the topic of personal branding. I will switch the PowerPoint slides, 1 second, and switch to my presentation. I will take you through, well, I'll make a brief introduction about myself, and I'll also take you through the agenda for today and tomorrow, and sorry, and next Saturday. There we go. So as Freddy said, please feel free to interrupt, ask any questions. I might not necessarily see it if I'm running around, but someone or feel free to unmute yourself and scream and interrupt. It will make it easier to go through the flow. So also as a note to you, the slides will be provided, will be sent over, so feel free to take as many notes as you want. It's also being recorded in case you need to watch elements of it again. But again, the slides will be sent over to you, so you wouldn't need necessarily to write down what is in those. Yeah, I'll introduce myself briefly. Yeah, my name is German Ramirez. As you know, I come from Spain, born, grown, studied in Spain. I've lived most of my life, though, outside of Spain. Yeah, what makes me a little special is the fact that I've been longer in the internet than Google. I started 25 years ago doing e-commerce and starting, building websites and joining the new economy before it was called the new economy. The story of my life, in a way, is a fascination for how technology influences humanity in a nutshell. And I've had the pleasure of working for several large corporations like Henkel or Zurich Insurance here in Switzerland. I've also founded 7 different companies, 4 of which still exist. Other than that, I am, an entrepreneur, a speaker, a coach, and a marketeer. And one of, it was approximately 2005 when I joined LinkedIn. And as a marketeer, as a branding expert, I've been fascinated by the power of brands ever since. I also studied quite closely the topic of the future of work and how we are evolving. And one of the things that over 10 years ago occurred to me, and ever since I've been working on that and sharing my experience with others, is the importance of understanding that every single one of us is a brand, and applying the principles of brand building and brand management to ourselves as human beings, as individuals. And without getting too philosophical, I hope that over the 2 sessions that we are planning, we will be able, or I will be able to convey to you how important it is to understand yourself as a brand and how to actually brand manage yourself. Whether you apply what you learn to getting a new job, or being more successful at your current job, or generating leads, if you are working in sales, or you want to find or acquire new projects, whether you use it to recruit people to work with you, or for your company or partners, whatever it is that you use it for. One of the phenomena that I hope I'll be able to convey is the fact that your personal brand and what you do in the digital space is one of the most powerful tools that you will have for your personal and professional success from now on and in the future. Probably you know that already. That's why hopefully you are here today and you decided to join us. I hope that you learn a lot. And I hope that this session is, to a certain extent, transformative of how you see yourself in the digital world. What we will be covering overall over both sessions, we will be first looking into why is it so important to build your personal brand, and what is the proper understanding of yourselves in the digital world as a brand. We will also be covering what is it that you can do. You know, what is your brand good for? How can you apply it? What can you achieve with it? And give you a few kind of use cases for your brand. And most of the time, though, we're going to be spending on the how. On how to establish your brand, how to build the perfect LinkedIn profile. Just to warn you, I briefly stalked all of you once I got the participant list, and if it is okay, and if time allows it, at the end of or towards the end of today's session, I would like to be able to go through your profiles and give every one of you individual feedback as to what it is that you could apply, you could change. Many of you look really good on LinkedIn already, I must say. You're clearly above the average of what I usually encounter, but I have not seen one single profile yet where things could not be improved. So let's see if we can do that. Oh, and by the way, it's absolutely voluntary. If anyone has an issue with the fact that I display your face and publicly humiliate you, if you wish, then please let me know. I will, of course, refrain from doing that. So that's going to be the core for today. So we will be finishing there basically, and afterwards, then in the second session, we're going to be looking into how to basically bring your brand to market, how to be successful in the marketplace, researching and connecting the right contacts. We tend to go quite loosely about how we grow our network. Very oftentimes it's more a factor of coincidence in a way. And I would like you to have an absolutely strategic approach to how you build and how you act with your brand. So how do you find the right contacts for your network? How to define your personal branding strategy, and how to actually grow your network properly. Also, that is something that most people simply do wrong. It's not because any of you are bad people. It's just that maybe you've never been told, so you might not know better. And one of the most important areas we're going to be focused, that's going to be kind of the hero of the second session, is how to engage, how to build and foster relationships individually, one-on-one on LinkedIn, which is a network that's excellently built for that, as well as how to position yourself as a thought leader, how to become, if you want, an influencer, or how to reach the world with your knowledge, with your skill, and how to basically build your brand visibly out there, so that ideally people will start reaching out to you rather than the other way around. So that's going to be the focus on the second session. Today, it's about the background of it, as well as the perfect brand building. And then in the second session, it will be about what I call the go-to-market strategy of your brand. So that's how it's going to be. As mentioned earlier, please interrupt with any questions that you might have. I have to express one warning that I always give away before, in any of my keynotes or trainings. I sometimes use bad language, so I would like to apologize for that in advance. To my defense, though, I always say there is a study from MIT that proves that people that use bad language are more trustworthy. So that's something, you can Google that. So that to be said in my defense, and I apologize if I offend anyone in advance. So yeah, let's dive into it. You've noticed this, right? The world has changed. the world has changed, and I'm not referring to the lockdown and what we're currently experiencing. The world has been changing for quite a while, and digital technologies have basically stormed our lives. And if we think about it, in the past, it used to be a little simpler. We had a limited amount of TV stations, a limited amount of radio stations, a couple of newspapers, magazines, and actually we were only consumers of information, and only companies usually were the ones who would communicate or who could interact with the world. So you would have somebody putting out an ad, and for us as employees, as entrepreneurs, as workers, whatever, we had very little to say. We decided to either consume information or basically drop it. Now, that was before the emergence of digital technologies. And in the meantime, what has happened is that, well, first of all, we experienced early until the late 90s kind of an explosion of media. You think about it, 1990 we had an average of 27 TV stations in the Western world per household, and in the year 2000 it was 500 already. So the amount of blogs, the amount of media, the amount of channels, the amount of possibilities of communicating information or the presence of anything to the world have radically increased. In the time, if you think about it today, in the time that you will be spending with us this morning, any single one of you, if you wanted, could, with no money invested and without having to program one single line of code, right? You don't have to be a technological wizard, and you don't have to be to spend any money. Every single one of you could set up a website using some Wix or WordPress templates or whatever. You could start a blog, open a YouTube channel, create your LinkedIn, Sing, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter profile, anything you want. And within a couple of hours, with no technical background and no money invested, from a pure technical reach perspective, every one of you could compete against CNN. If you think about it for a minute, every single one of you, technically speaking, would have the same access, the same reach, technical reach, than CNN has. You might not have the reputation from CNN or the amount of content they have, or the credibility, but you certainly would be able to to reach the world with your information. We have a question from you. Mind you state your name?
No, it was not mistaken. It was just you were cutting out for like 10 seconds or so. There was no audio.
Oh, I mean, apologies. Can you hear me well now?
No, it works well. Yeah,
perfect. Thank you. So yeah, and that is basically what has changed. So on the one side, we have the possibility of now being participants in that dialogue, in the discourse. So actually, some thought leaders and influencers in the world have a significantly higher reach, followership, credibility, visibility, influence than many large corporations. Just to give an example, the single largest marketing, branding, and advertising magazine in the German-speaking region is called W&V. They have a fraction of the followers, of the readers, of the impact, of the reach that a single gentleman in the US called, for example, Seth Godin, who writes and is an expert on branding and communication, has. So every single one of us has gained the technical possibility of reaching the world with whatever it is we have to say at no cost, in barely no time, with limited technical knowledge required. Now that has changed, and basically from being passive consumers of informations somehow standing in the background, which is what we used to be. We now are active participants in a conversation. As much as obviously, if we want, we can, we don't have to. We are potentially active participants in a conversation, and we are not consumers, we are creators. We are not listeners, we are speakers. We are not basically standing in the background, although we can choose to do that, but we have the possibility of coming into center stage. Now, that in itself has had significant influence or impact into how organizations, how brands, how companies communicate versus how individuals do it. So if you think about it, many organizations today, and when I was checking you out, I noticed some of you work in some of the largest organizations in the world. Some of you might work or are working also maybe in smaller organizations, but in general, a lot of organizations, definitely in the past and many still today, have that traditional way of communicating, which consists on I speak and you listen. Simply put, right? We are companies broadcast information. Information tends to flow, top down, being very structured, very monologue oriented, which is probably one of the single biggest elements that differentiate us. We are basically sorry, lost my track of thought. So yeah, it's basically we speak, you listen, right? That's kind of the philosophy of many organizations. It is bureaucratic, it is monologue oriented, it is slow, right? And it tries to be controlled. It tries to be controlled. Now, something that's interesting is while we operate and work like that in many organizations, kind of in our private lives, right? And in general, we think in networks, we interact in networks, we collaborate in networks. It's informal, it's transparent, it's immediate, it's authentic, it's human to human, right? And it's dialogue oriented. We are participants in the dialogue. We have a voice that can be heard. And that is a main difference, because right now we have kind of in a way a split between how brands, how companies, how corporations, how basically B2B, if you wish, tries to communicate versus how the world works. Actually, I don't know if you noticed this, but sometimes I used to make a joke about it. When I was working, I've worked for one of the largest banks in the world here in Switzerland as a consultant for quite some years. And whenever I went into, I had a badge, and whenever I went into the building, obviously I had to use the badge to come in. And I used to call the cabin that I walked through, I used to call it a time machine. So I referred to the entry of the company as a time machine. And the reason for that was that outside of the building, before I had entered the building, I had the latest phone, the latest computer, the latest browser. I was connected to everybody. I could download everything. I could speak with with everyone. I could connect with. The moment I went through that Schleuse, they call it in German, and the moment I went through that, what I used to call time machine, I don't know how you call it, when you badge and you enter the building, my internet went from Chrome or Firefox or Safari to Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer was on its version 11 or 12, or I have no idea. But in the company, we were using Internet Explorer 8, right? It was SharePoint 2013 or whatever. Although this was already 6 years old, the phones were restricted. You could not plug a USB stick into the computer of the company. That took half an hour to even to be up and running. It was tremendous. You had to communicate with certain people following a certain process. You could not just reach across the company and talk to the boss. So it was fascinating, because whenever I batched out to go out of the building into a cigarette break, all of a sudden I was again in the 21st century. So now companies have changed, haven't changed, but we have changed. The way many corporations communicate hasn't changed, but we individuals have changed. And it's phenomenal, because I refer to it as the phenomenon of collective stupidity. Everybody knows the principle of collective intelligence, right? The more people gather together, the more the combined intelligence of those happen to be true. And what I've experienced oftentimes, and this is linearly proportional to the size of a corporation most of the time, the more people come into a company, you speak to every single one individually, they're all absolutely fine people, but as a collective, they tend to be extremely slow in thinking together. Now, how that reflects is, or what that does, is it basically gives every single one of us an opportunity through how we build our brand and interact in the outside world, that we can eventually also leverage in the world inside. And but the biggest mistake when it comes to, excuse me, the biggest mistake when it comes to social media and how it's being used basically is in the thinking. The biggest mistake happens in the thinking. I was during the break between lockdown number 1 and lockdown number 2, I had the pleasure to be invited to do a keynote in Vienna. I love Vienna. I founded my first company in Vienna, and I was invited there by the Austrian Chamber of Commerce. And so what I did, what I usually do, right? First time you interact with the possible company, I check them out on Google. So I went to their website, and the first thing that happened, you know this phenomenon. I basically entered the Wirtschaftskammer in Wien into Google, landed on their page, and the first thing that comes is a pop-up that says, "The Wirtschaftskammer Wien would like to know your location." Why? What are they going to do with that information? Why, what is are you going to give me a totally different web experience if I tell you that I live in Switzerland? Am I going to see different things? Or are you just collecting information for the sake of it? So, you got the option of saying block or allow. So I blocked, and I wanted to go about checking out the website. But before I could do that, another pop-up came up that said, "The Wirtschaftskammer Wien would like to send you push notifications." And you were like, why? How often? They don't tell you. What are they going to tell me? Oh, they don't. That's a secret, right? And why the fuck should I allow you to send me push notifications? But that wasn't all. So I finally, I blocked that too, and I started looking at the website. And you had on the right side of the site, and you're probably familiar with this, you had these sticky icons that said, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on everywhere, right? It didn't tell me why I should pick one or the other. It didn't tell me what I would find on Twitter compared to LinkedIn. Ideally, the Wirtschaftskammer Wien would like me to follow them on every fucking channel, right? It didn't tell me why. It didn't tell me how often I would get it. It didn't tell me. It's just like, please follow us. We have something important to say. You should lay back and listen to what we have to say, because that is how it's been working for the last 80 years. And we like that, right? We don't want that to change. And those were these sticky icons. I was scrolling down, and they were coming with me. And at the very bottom of the page, once you've made it through all of that, you had a box that says, please subscribe to our newsletter. It didn't tell me again how often I would get a newsletter. It didn't tell me what the newsletter would contain. It didn't tell me what my advantage was going to be if I subscribed to it. That is the mistake that I meant in the thinking. You experience the companies are trying to stick to that old fashion of, please listen to us, please follow us, please, you know, we have something to say, you should consume our information. But the world has changed, and that's no longer relevant for us. This is why we have invented pop-up blockers. This is why YouTube has an option to skip ad. This is why 80+% of everyone on YouTube clicks on skip ad. My personal theory is that the others, whatever 15% that don't click on skip ad, do so because they don't know what skip ad means. So they just expect, okay, I gotta endure this. So that is how traditionally it has been working, and that is how in our world oftentimes it continues to work. And in the meantime, we, every single one of us, you in this session, in this training this morning, everyone outside has moved into a new era in which we are no longer forced consumers of information that are invisible and simply sitting in the back. We have the potential to be active participants and creators of that information, as well as participating in the dialogue. Now, a lot of people refer to social media as, oh, that works for business to consumer, or that is something for cat pictures on Facebook, that's something for teens on TikTok, and that is not true. Everybody is basically consuming those channels. And what it does, obviously there are different target groups for different channels, but what it does is it puts every single one of us in the center, and it gives us the possibility of direct interaction. It's basically, it's peer-to-peer collective intelligence and interaction, as opposed to us being consumers. And I know there is a lot of discussion about, you know, B2B or B2C or whatever. What we oftentimes forget is that, you know, whether I'm selling flip-flops from Tommy Hilfiger to someone in a store, or whether I am negotiating for a contract for the construction of an atomic reactor in Madagascar, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, in most business today still are human to human, which means that at the end of that massive B2B contract for the atomic reactor in Madagascar, Dalian and I will sign. So two human beings will take a decision. And it is about connecting humans. So there is, and I'll go into the philosophy of what it means, and we'll talk about that more next Saturday when we talk about engaging and interacting. But what it implies is that we use these platforms, we use these channels to, first of all, position ourselves as an expert, as someone to do business with. Again, whether we are looking for to sell something, or to get a new job, or to find a new talent, or to promote the brand of the company we're working for, whatever it is that we choose to use it for, at the end of the day, it is the symbiosis between the human and, from a professional perspective, the business that that person is carrying towards the world. So it is human to human, and at the end of the day, people do business with you. They don't do business with your company, right? You might have the logo head of your company in the contract, but they sign with you. And that is why every single one of us is at the center and should be at the center of the communication. That is why every single one of you is an important potential participant in the business, in the networks, in the dialogue, and ultimately every single one of you is a brand. Now, something that I oftentimes hear, or I have the impression, is that because we are individuals, because we are oftentimes working in large networks or large corporations or similar, we oftentimes tend to think that we don't have power, that nobody knows us, right? We got participants, or we got people here from IBM, from Nestle, or you have backgrounds in all sorts of Microsoft, large corporations. These are companies that are known by the entire country. These are companies that are oftentimes consumed by pretty much everyone, and everybody knows them. And you might think that you have no power as a single, we call it a small little wheel in a huge machine. That's how we feel oftentimes when it comes to ourselves. So you have a few very famous people or influencers or whatever, business leaders out there that are visible and in the press, but the rest of us, nobody knows us, so we have no power. So we should let our company, ideally, be at the forefront of dialogue. And I would like to prove to every single one of you that whatever it is that you do has significantly more impact, first, than you think, and second, most likely, than your entire company. No matter how big it is, no matter how famous it is, no matter if you're talking about a big ass corporation like IBM, you as an individual have significantly more power than you think, and most likely more power in your area of influence than your company has. Now, and I like to prove that by sharing with you what I call the 3 keys for successfully selling anything. When I refer to selling, that has to do more with my conviction that everybody in the world is a salesperson, no matter if they're actually actively selling or not, right? So whatever it is that we do, life is a negotiation, life is a pitch, and everyone is a salesman and saleswoman. I'm profoundly convinced of that. Whether you're trying to get a new job, you're selling yourself as a candidate. Whether you're trying to find a new partner to do business with, you're selling your company as a partner. Whether you're trying to get a customer, you're actually selling a product to a person or a service to a person. Whether you're trying to find a new person to hire, you are selling your company as an employer. So whatever it is that you're doing with the world outside, you and we are always selling. Now, this is something I learned myself when I started the company Spark and Strategy, because I was absolutely convinced that nobody would know German Ramirez or want to know German Ramirez. And I had this company that I created that I was the founder and leader of. And I thought, okay, well, from now on, I will communicate through my company. So I created a LinkedIn page, I created a Facebook page, I created a Twitter account, and so on, in the name of my company, because I thought that was the right way to do it, right? And this is, about 10 years ago. Now, and I thought that's going to be transformational, right? I'm not going to be just a simple person. I'm going to have this company that eventually one day will become bigger and bigger. And I'm, going to do all that talking. So I started creating content and posting it through my company account, through my Facebook page, through my Twitter account. I started, I started giving Spark and Strategy a voice to become recognized in the market. And I realized nobody gave a fuck, simply put. Nobody did. And then I started doing the exact same frequency, content, channels, but rather than doing it and communicating from the point of view of my company, I started doing it as an individual, as German Ramirez, from my personal profile on LinkedIn, from my personal Twitter account, from my personal Facebook account. And the difference was radical. The difference was transformational. And I learned basically based on that I have much more power as an individual that my company had. So I started looking into that, and then I came up with this, 3 keys for successfully selling anything. I'm going to take you briefly through an exercise, through a mental exercise, in which I invite you to think of, maybe we can use an example, because Daniel, you work with IBM, right?
Yes.
Cool. How many followers does IBM have on LinkedIn in Switzerland?
Followers? I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. Let's say you got 100,000 followers,
Yeah.
right? It's a huge company, 100,000 followers. How many connections do you have, Daniel?
Many hundreds.
Let's say,
hundreds.
um,
Some hundreds.
some hundred. Let's say you got 500 connections,
Yes.
or we probably could check it out quickly, but it would be counterintuitive to think that you, as a person, has got potentially more impact than IBM Switzerland when you act on LinkedIn. You would think I'm stupid if I say that. But I would like to invite you to think again. Let's imagine, just for easiness of numbers, you have 1,000 contacts. IBM has 100,000 followers. Okay, just to make easy math. Now, we're going to create a blog post that demonstrates thought leadership. Let's say that you write, what would you write about? An article, 800 words, 1,000 words about
project management, that's an example.
Very good. Successful project management in times of lockdown. A beautiful article, right? It's a little old-fashioned in the meantime because we've been in lockdown for a year. But that would have been a perfect article sometimes in April of last year, right? Successful project management in times of lockdown. Perfect. Brilliantly researched, well written, illustrated with a nice chart or picture, whatever. Beautiful article. Now, the same article, the exact same content goes today on the IBM LinkedIn page with 100,000 followers, and the same article goes on your page as a private citizen, as yourself, right? Now let's see what happens. So basically, the reason why you do that, you don't do that because you do that because you want to sell something, right? You want to sell your expertise, position yourself as a thought leader. You want to maybe attract traffic to your page for people to download a white paper or whatever it is, or get a demo or anything. So that's what we do. We're trying to sell something. Now, bear with me with this scenario. The first thing that you need to ensure if you want to sell something is that people see it, right? It's very basic. These 3 keys to successfully selling anything are no rocket science. You cannot buy what you don't see. So for your post, for your thought leadership piece to have any kind of impact, people need to see it. Now, you post it from your personal profile and your company posts it from the corporate profile. It is 5 times more likely. It is 5 times more likely that the people that are connected with you will see your post, that the followers of IBM will see their post. That has to do with the fact that we do not, there is a difference between what you call technical reach and organic reach. Technical reach means that you, having 1,000 people in your network, can technically reach 1,000 people. However, the organic reach is the amount of people that actually get exposure to what you post, because these networks don't show you everything that everybody posts. They select for us what we see. Right? There are no 2 individual profiles that are identical, not 2 individual timelines are identical, not 2 individual networks are identical. So what these platforms do, what LinkedIn does, what all of the social networks do is they try to get an idea for what it is that they think will be relevant to you based on your profile, your network, and mostly your past interactions, and select the content that you could see, technical, and they display to you the content that they want you to see. Now, companies generally get penalized. So you as a person have, on average, 5 times more reach, organically speaking, that your company has. So the first thing we need to do if we want to sell something is make sure people see it. If you post it from your profile, more people will see it than if it's posted from a corporate profile. So you have more visibility. But of course, we do not buy everything we see. We would be crazy and poor. So the second thing we need to achieve to make sure that we successfully sell it is what we call relevance. I see something, I find it relevant, then I might buy it. A good example for high visibility and 0 relevance, or at least in my case, is cat food advertising. I have nothing against cats, I just don't own a cat. I just don't. But I have seen in my life a fair share of cat food advertising. I've never seen cat food advertising that was so amazing that got me to buy cat food, despite I don't own a cat. It's absolutely irrelevant to me. So that is something that you cannot measure necessarily, because relevance happens in your brain. You see something or you read an article and you think, wow, that was interesting. That was relevant. Well, but you think it, you don't, you can't necessarily measure that. What you can measure in the social networks is engagement. And engagement is the translation of relevance into action. Now, obviously, we don't like everything that we might find interesting, but we certainly do not like or comment on anything that we find irrelevant. So that is the expression of, basically engagement has something to do with liking something, commenting something, sharing something, interacting with it, clicking, doing something with it, which is, again, is not a guarantee that we will interact with everything we find relevant, but it's definitely negative the other way around. We do not like something if we find it irrelevant. Now, comparing the same model, comparing the article of successful project management in times of lockdown, it is 8 times more likely that someone will like your article than that will like the IBM article. And it is crazy because it's the same stupid article. It's equally insightful, it's equally well researched, it's equally helpful, inspiring, or practical, because it's the same article, but it's 8 times more likely that people will like your article and not IBM's. Now, and you might think maybe, well, why do I give a shit if people like it or comment it or share it? Well, other than the fact that it is a show of appreciation of your work and gives you feedback and the possibility of interacting further with people, it has one important job to do. Because if you have 1,000 connections and you can reach 1,000 people yourself, that is the limitation. But every time you share something and I like it, or I comment it, or I share it further, all of a sudden your reach becomes potentially enhanced. Because if I like it, you go on LinkedIn right now, you can check it out, and you will see on your timeline that German Ramirez liked this. And this is an article written by someone that you might not know. So all of a sudden you start getting exposure to content that from people you don't know, because someone you do know liked it, commented, or shared it. And that is how you increase your reach, hence leading to also higher visibility overall. And that is why engagement is great. I don't like likes because of my ego. I like likes because I know if someone likes my content, that will amplify its reach. And this is how, I think I got 8,000 connections on LinkedIn or something around that. However, I have the pleasure of looking at some content that I've shared before that has had 50,000 views. So 50,000 people have seen my content, despite, technically speaking, I could only reach 8,000. Why? Because you liked it, and you liked it, and you commented on it, and you shared it, and that means it gets shown to more people. So visibility, relevance. Now there is one third thing that you need to reach in order to successfully close that sale, which is credibility. Credibility is counterintuitive in this case, because if we're talking about IBM as an example, we're talking about one of the best known companies in the world, right? So technically, actually, they should have a huge credibility. And here comes something that we've been experiencing over the last decades, increasingly so over the last 5 years, and actually it's been going on for quite a while. The world is, and I'm not going to get philosophical, I promise I could talk about this for hours. The world has gone into a trust crisis. We are in trust crisis mode or are going on a downward spiral, where based on the learnings from the past and having been deceived and lied to, and by large corporations and large industries as a whole, we have stopped trusting what companies tell us in their advertising, in their communication. Actually, only 14% of people believe what companies say in their communication. 86% of people hear something from IBM on average and will think, that's probably not true. However, over 50% of people believe what employees, individual employees of companies have to say. And the reason is quite interesting, because you can hide behind a logo, but you cannot hide behind your own name and face. So if on LinkedIn, IBM says, these are 10 things you need to consider, and it's not true, or it's not accurate, or you disagree with, or whatever, as an employee from IBM or whoever gets asked the question, you could always say, oh, sorry, yeah, actually, I know what you mean, but it was decided, right? You can use the passive, you can use the passive verb form, in communication when you refer to companies. It was decided, which, by the way, I think is absolute bullshit, because things don't get decided. Someone decides them, always. The passive verb form should be prohibited. That's my opinion, because it is coward and it is terrible. We should not use the passive. You cannot use the passive verb form for your own actions. You cannot say, it was decided that I posted. So, wait a second. You either decided or you didn't. You posted it. It was posted yesterday. You can say that about a company's post. Yes, yesterday night it was posted that, no, somebody fucking posted it. You don't, things don't happen. We make things. And that's the key difference, because if you say something representing yourself, your own opinions, or your companies, or whatever, you cannot hide behind your name. It's like, yeah, but unless someone had a gun on your head, you said that XYZ. That is why we, as individuals, have higher accountability. And as such, representing our own opinions or our company's opinion also have higher, higher credibility. This does not apply, for example, to politicians or to some other individuals, right? But for us representing companies, it still does. So you need to see something, you need to find it interesting, and you need to, what Americans say, buy it, right? A great example, by the way, of unsuccessful sales due to high visibility, high relevance, and no credibility is that email that we get probably 3 times a day. I'm not sure if you've got an email that says, hello, you look like very trustworthy person. My husband died and left me 100 million euros. Right? Have you ever received an email like that? Yep.
This the uncle. This the uncle.
Yes, or the prince from Zambia or whatever, right? Nigerian prince, exactly. That was one of the, or the email from Bill Gates. We all, I mean, you're laughing because we all have received these emails, right? Visibility 100%. Now, let's be honest, at least here in the room, who of you would mind having 50 million euros? I wouldn't, right? Would you mind?
No.
No? Would you like to have 50 million euros?
I would like, yes.
Yes, you would like to. That's an honest person. Well, huge visibility. Everybody's seeing these emails. Huge relevance. Everybody wants 50 million euros, but zero action, zero credibility, because it's a scam. You're not going to get 50 million euros. I don't know anybody other than a guy called Samuel who makes very funny YouTube videos who ever has tried to interact with spammers. So you need all 3 factors. Now, this is the summary of that. So in other words, you have 5 times more visibility with your content than your company has. You have 8 times more engagement. You generate 8 times more engagement, and therefore, by the way, also indirectly amplified visibility. And you're 3.6 times more credible than your company. That is, your power factor is combined 144 times more than your own company. So in other words, if we put that factor in, the 100,000 impact, potential technical impact from IBM, you got multiplied by factor 144, 144,000. So you have more power with your 1,000 connections than IBM has with 100,000 followers. Every single one of you has got much more power than you think. So it's not only about, I need to build my personal brand because then, you know, I look good on LinkedIn. No. Every single one of you is potentially a very powerful communications, thought leadership, influence, connecting, sharing, interacting, informing, transacting machine with much more power than your company. And we're talking fucking IBM, right? The big blue. And you have more power than them. That is amazing. So it's, again, not only is personal branding a tool to look good and maybe find a new job or be online on LinkedIn to be found by a headhunter, which, by the way, is also the case. But it's really an opportunity for every one of you to reach the world, to convince the world, to share your knowledge with the world, and to build your brand. Because no matter how small you think you are much bigger than you think you are. So don't be shy. And this, if nothing else, probably, to me, is the single most important message of these 2 days that we're going to be spending together. You have much more power and much more punch than you probably think. And that is awesome, right? That is great. And yeah, basically, yeah, to actually give myself away as a nerd, you know, Spider-Man, the movie. Mm-hmm. In the first 15 minutes, this is not a spoiler. First 15 minutes of Spider-Man, his uncle dies. And the last sentence from Peter Parker's uncle in the first 50 minutes of the movie is, with great power comes great responsibility. Mm-hmm. So in other words, you owe it to yourself to make use of that power correctly for your own benefit. But ideally, and this is something, and I appreciate you spending so much time with me to learn exactly step by step how to do this right. Ideally, you will be able to do and invest the right time and to do this right so that you can maximize the impact of it. It's quite interesting to me how much time and effort and money sometimes we invest in professionally looking good when we interact with human beings. You know, I put on my suit this morning and I came here, and we're all interacting professionally, and we're presenting ourselves, and we are paying attention on what impact we leave on people, what impression we give to people. And on the other side, despite the tremendous power that we have in all these networks when we use them correctly, we kind of go about it relatively shitty and lazy and poorly. Not you. You guys are doing great. But most people out there don't really put the effort or don't really behind this incredible machinery and don't use the possibility that it gives. So that's why it makes a hell of sense to change that framework. Right? So this is why. Now let's look into what it is that personal branding provides us. What kind of value? What's in it for us? Where is the advantage? Now, I've been referring to LinkedIn for many years as the supermarket of people. I no longer need to interact with middlemen or go through people. I potentially can go on LinkedIn, and I do this, by the way. I need a new customer. I go on LinkedIn and get myself a new customer. I need a new employee to do this or that. I go on LinkedIn and I get myself a new employee. Whether I need a partner and someone to work with, someone to hire, someone to contract, or someone to sell to. I go on LinkedIn and I have them everywhere. For example, let's assume it's not an assumption, it's a reality. I sell products, I sell services, to decision makers in companies of different sizes, in different countries, around marketing, sales, branding, business development, innovation. That's kind of my target group. So in other words, let's focus for a minute on marketing, and let's focus on the financial services industry. Let's assume that my target group was bankers in Switzerland, right? Or financial services companies in Switzerland. Every one of them is on fucking LinkedIn. So so basically the CMO of any private bank let's say, my target group is companies about 5,000 employees based in Switzerland, operating the financial services and with a marketing function. So my target client is the CMO of Julius Baer, UBS, Credit Suisse, Zurich Insurance, or whatever. Let's assume that they're all there. So I don't need to call the Credit Suisse Centrale and say, hello, Credit Suisse, could you please put me through to the most important decision maker in your organization in charge of marketing? I'd like to sell you shit. Yeah, that's not how you do it. They will probably hang up the phone, right? Mm-hmm. But you can go on LinkedIn and search for who is the CMO of Credit Suisse. They got a shit ton of them. They have different divisions and so on, but like the global one, right? And that person will be there with his or her face and name and career, and you will be able to, technically speaking, we'll go into how to do that right, because there are many things you can do wrong and many things you should do right. But you could, technically speaking, connect to that person straight away, engage in a conversation straight away, offer your services straight away. Don't do that, that's called spamming, but technically speaking, you have that person there. That is amazing. That's, you need new customers, go get yourself new customers. They're all there, right? If you do it right, you just need to do it right, and you will get them there. Now,
so you will tell us how you connect to them then. First step.
Absolutely. And today we're going to be focusing on the basic, on the principles of using it, the why, the what, and we're going to go into the profiles. And in the second session on Saturday, we're going to go through the whole, researching, connecting, engaging, but basically selling straight away. So this is what is it specifically that we can do of value on LinkedIn? First, and we're going to go through this today, it's going to be about establish. Next Saturday, it's research, connect, and engage. So that's kind of the way to do it. Make sure that your profile is absolutely spot on and as good as it can be. Make sure you really look good. Imagine you're going to an interview. You're going to be looking as good as you can, right? That first impression that counts. So that's the first thing we need to do. Now, and then research, connecting again. This principle, by the way, we're going to be focusing on LinkedIn because it is our most important tool and also the most complex one, and the one with the most potential in what it is that you guys and we are doing. But this applies to every network. Whatever it is you're learning here, from its principle, maybe not where you click or but the principles of it apply to whether you're using it for Facebook or Twitter or Xing. There is still this thing called Xing, and so on. So it doesn't really matter what network it works. The same principle work in every single one of them. I've used Twitter to sell potential investments. I have used Xing and LinkedIn to sell services, to sell software, to sell solutions. I have used Facebook to sell a shit ton of insurances in the United States. You wouldn't know how many, but just to give you a number, 60% of every single new lead of the company Pharma's Insurance that I brought into social selling a little over 2 years ago when I was working there comes from Facebook and social media.
10 years ago already.
Yeah, no, 10 years ago I started that, and 3 years later it was already 60%. I don't know the numbers already, but yes. So in other words, the potential to use these platforms. It's always a matter of where is my customer base, right? If they are on Facebook, you will be able to sell it on Facebook. If they are on wherever they are, right? You gotta fish where the fish are. And the principles of fishing are the same in every pond. And very, very few differences, whether it's a big fish or a small fish overall. So what you can do with these, what can you do once you've done these? You can use these platforms to demonstrate expertise. This is like 15 years ago. I don't remember. I'm getting old. I started, to my knowledge, the second blog in the world about wine. I was working in the wine and beverage industry back then, and I started one of the first blogs in the world about wine, because I thought blogs were going to be a big thing, which then happened. It took me 6 months of writing very clever, interesting, funny articles. I created a character called Francisco Castillo de Lleida. Francisco Castillo de Lleida was the self-declared ambassador of Spain in the United States. Obviously, that's a fake person that I invented, and created a blog called Ask Francisco, right? And Ask Francisco was the truth about Spain. And every week, Francisco would, write something interesting and or funny or surprising or whatever about Spain. It took me 6 months writing one article a week to get 1,000 people to read my blog regularly. 6 months to get 1,000 readers. Now, you go on LinkedIn, you post something, and right away you have, technically speaking, access to 750 million people in the world, whatever it is that you have in your network. And it's rare that I post something on LinkedIn and I don't get thousands of people to see it. Now you have to compete against many more profiles, and however, you don't have no longer necessarily to go and curate an audience yourself, and because everybody's there. So it's open mic season. You go on stage, and if you're funny or a good singer or whatever the open mic is for, people are going to listen to you. And you don't have to bring them into the bar. They are in the bar. You just need to get their attention once you are. So you can use it to demonstrate expertise, probably like nothing else. You can use it also to generate leads. You can, once you have the leads, you can use it to increase your revenue or to generate revenue, of course, and to strengthen your customer relationships, and as well as to attract talent. Now I'll give you, it's been a while. It was this a year and a half ago, or I don't know. Corona makes time very elastic. Collaborating with a company that I work with out of Germany. It's a consulting company, and we were exploring the impact, the success, the whatever of innovation labs, accelerators, and incubators, and so on, that had become a huge trend. Like 6, 8 years ago, every large company started starting an incubator, an accelerator program, blah, blah, blah. It popped up like champions everywhere, and we were just trying to get an understanding of what happened, what have we learned, what is working, what isn't working. So we created the single largest Central European study about incubators, accelerators, and innovation labs, and conducted that basically. And I was in charge, obviously, of Switzerland. So the first thing you do is, thinking about how it works today, you go on Google and you ask Larry Page, Larry, what are the 10 biggest accelerators, incubators, and innovation labs in Switzerland? And Larry will tell you this 10. All right, awesome. Now, think about time before LinkedIn. And think about today. Now, before LinkedIn existed, or now I would have to go into the yellow pages or into something and find out the telephone number of the incubation lab. So, for example, the Start Accelerator in St. Gallen is one of the bigger ones. So basically, before that existed, you would go and look up the number of the Start Accelerator and call the Start Accelerator, similar to what I said. Hello, my name is German Ramirez, and you don't know me, but I would like to spend approximately an hour and a half interviewing the single most important decision maker you have in your company for a study that I'm not going to pay you any money for, that might or might not make you look good because I don't know the outcome of my interview until I do it. So I don't know how good you are, and maybe I actually make you look shit. And yeah, and you don't know me. And could you please put me through to the most important person?
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, sorry, but do you have an appointment? No. Does he know who you are? No. Are you in business? No. So why exactly would I put you through to our CEO? Now, today, same scenario on LinkedIn, and this is exactly how it happened, and it was just a walk in the park. I go on Google and I ask, what are the 10 biggest accelerators in Switzerland? And it tells me one of them is the Start accelerator in St. Gallen. So then I go on LinkedIn and I check out the Start accelerator in St. Gallen. And I look for people that work at the Start accelerator in St. Gallen. And I look through them, there are not that many, otherwise you can filter by title and go, who's the boss? And all of a sudden, there he was. Yeah, it's a gentleman who's the CEO of the Start accelerator in St. Gallen. So that I already had the name. So at least with that name, I could have called and say, hey, would you please put me through to Mr. Peter Pieper? Does he know you? Of course he does. Who wouldn't, right? And if I'm really fresh, but even there, my chances are limited. But already I got a name, I got a face. I also have an entire career of that person. I know where he studied. And what is really brilliant is I know who he is connected to. And I saw that Professor Dr. Dietmar Grichnik, who is the leader of the entrepreneurial campus in St. Gallen, who I happen to know because I happen to teach there, is connected to this gentleman. And so basically I drop a note, I drop a note to this to Dietmar, saying, hello Dietmar, I noticed that you are connected to the CEO of the Start Accelerator in St. Gallen. Would you mind introducing us? Because I would like to set up a call with him to run him through an interview for a study that we are conducting. And I'm going to need an hour and a half of his time. So all of a sudden, the CEO of the Start Accelerator in St. Gallen gets an email from someone he knows, respects, appreciates, and not a stranger, that says, hey, how you doing? By the way, I'd like to introduce you to German Ramirez. He's an awesome gentleman. Now, it's not me saying I'm awesome, it's him. And he'd like to interview you for a study. I'm sure you'll have a great conversation, so make sure to help him out. And I get an email from a total stranger, CEO of the Start Accelerator in St. Gallen, that says, hello, German, Dietmar said we should have a call. When do you have time? It's like fucking cheating, right? If you think about it. That is the beauty of what you can do with it. And whether you are trying, again, whether you're trying to, and I do this for attracting talent. So now I'm recruiting. Right now, we actually, as we speak, we're kind of looking for a new content writer for our agency, The Relevance House. So one possibility is to put out an ad out there and said, hello, if you are a content writer, native English speaker, and looking for a job, please apply. That gives you access to 25% of everyone in the market because they are actively looking for a job. So they are studying job openings and applying to jobs. 25% of employees are so-called active candidates, but it's only 25%. Now, what I can also do is I can go on LinkedIn and say, who is a native speaker with experience in content writing, living in Switzerland, and you get a list. You filter, you end up getting a list. Now, interesting is a study from Monster done in Central Europe, Deutschland, Österreich, Schweiz, proved that while 25% of people might be actively looking for a job, 91% of people would change jobs if they get an offer that they like. And by the way, that doesn't necessarily mean more money, right? It can be, I'm just tired, I'm not getting, so I'm not actively looking for a job, but I'm open to switch jobs. 91% of everyone on LinkedIn is waiting for an opportunity to switch. In other words, out of a list of the 10 best writers that I can find, native speakers in Switzerland with this many years of experience, I know that 9 of them, I don't know if I can afford them, but I know that 9 of them will be coming to my company if I want. So I don't wait until someone decides that they are looking for a job and it is the exact timing and it works for them and they apply. No, I just go on LinkedIn and I think, who would I want as my next content writer? And then I send out an email to that person. It's like, I don't know if you're looking for a job or not, but I check you out on LinkedIn and we're looking for talent. It would look awesome on our page if you would join us. Or whatever it is that I tell that person. Now, they might or might not accept, but I have every single person in the world that I can try and go and approach and hire. And that's how you fill in your talent pipeline. So it's really about, it's not about what happens on LinkedIn and doing something different there. It's really about how can I use these tools and my power to go and access the world in that network thinking and leave behind all the traditional thoughts of this is how you usually are supposed to approach someone, or just basically go connect and try to find the closest, the shortest possible path between people. Now that's what the value is. Now a few other statistics to further cement what I was mentioning earlier here. 561% more reach when employees share your brand message, or they are, the total engagement is 8 times more, but just the sharing of content, which is measured as engagement, it is 25 times more frequent and it gets shared than if it's shared by your company. And companies with engaged employees simply work better. So it's also in the interest of companies to make sure that their employees are active on social. Not only that, but also the content of leadership matters. Now, basically 80%, everyone checks you out online. That before anyone does business with you, they're going to check your website, they're going to check, right? But not only that, they also check the profiles of the people behind the company. So approximately 80% of, for example, investors will look not only at the profile of the company before deciding to go ahead, but also into the profiles of the leadership of the company. So if you look shitty, no matter how great your company is, that's not going to leave a great impression. And it also works for sales, as I mentioned earlier. This is a very old study that from the US, and this is selling to high net worth individuals and generating new assets under management. So something that is much more complex, if you wish, than for example selling flip-flops from Tommy Hilfiger. But 66% of all financial advisors using social media for selling have generated new leads and business coming from it. So in other words, it works also for sales, not only for the brand messages. And something that is interesting, if you generate leads through social media, they are more likely to convert. You connect with a potential customer on social media, you are more likely to convert that. You will be able to have you can not return a phone call or not respond to an email. But once you're connected with someone on LinkedIn, you can start establishing a relationship with them. That will lead to a higher conversion rate. And in general, 78% higher success rates among sales people that use social media versus those who don't. So whether it is you're selling, you're recruiting, you're finding partners, or you're just trying to convey the message and build reputation and awareness for your services, your company, your products, whatever, no matter which of these dimensions you look into, in every single one of them, doing it right will make a massive difference. So we're gonna do a brief break and then jump into the ifs and hows of building a perfect profile. Just to summarize that, and this is what we're gonna be today. We're gonna be focusing on establish. How do I build the perfect profile? And next week we're gonna look into how do I then research, meaning finding the right audience, the right contacts to connect with, establishing ideally a first great impression, and then engage, as mentioned earlier, individually as well as with many. And last but not least, at the end, I'll also give you some KPIs to look into so that you can, from now on and in the future, keep an eye on how well you are doing. At the end of today, and again, you'll be getting the slides, I've also created a checklist for the perfect LinkedIn profile so that you can, that's the only page I will allow all of you to print out. Just so we're clear, you need to save trees. So do not print the presentation. But if you do print something, you can print that page and make sure you can tick all the boxes. Because if you've done so, you'll be absolutely an all-star. Not all-star the way LinkedIn refers to you as all-star, but a true one. So yeah, shall we take a quick break and then dive into all the things that you might be doing wrong when you're taking care of your LinkedIn profile? Yeah. Any questions so far from anyone at this stage? Because you're all very, very quiet.
Yeah, there's maybe one from me. It's a general question, you get all these different potential LinkedIn accounts you can get, and all these like different, I don't know, options, to spend money on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Will you also go into, let's say, the perfect setup, including, search options, advanced options, things like that?
And we will go into search and advanced search options.
Yeah.
Yes, in terms of the perfect LinkedIn setup, there is only basically the answer is quite simple. It's not worth it. Don't spend money on LinkedIn. Yeah, and there is only one single tool that I could go into, but it's a little more complex. And if you want, and if we find time in the next session, happy to do that, because I have the slides for that, of course, which is the Sales Navigator for LinkedIn. That's the only tool that LinkedIn has that I consider of value for only one single reason, because they give you a gazillion of reasons why it's good. But the only reason why it's really good is that it allows you to use significantly more advanced search filters for your target group. So it saves you time and effort in finding the right audience to connect to and to reach out to. That is the only thing that is of value. The only reason why that is the case is because their search is shitty. And the only reason why their search is shitty is because that's the only way they will be able to sell this tool at incremental cost. So this is it's kind of a phenomenon. By the way, the search filters from the Sales Navigator used to be an integral part of the premium account, which made premium worthwhile, until they decided to take that away because they decided they were giving away too much value for too little, and they packed it now into the Sales Navigator. So the Sales Navigator is worth it because of this factor. The rest of it isn't really worth it. So emails is something I don't believe anybody should ever use. And the only other advantage of a premium profile is that you can see who's seen your profile. If you act upon that, then be my guest, then it might be of value. I do not act upon who's visited my profile. So for me, that is of no value either.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Raul. Raul, right?
Raul.
All right. Cool. Any other questions from our audience this morning?
Yes.
Jean-Luc.
Oh, yes. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Recently, I increased my connection from 300 to 800 in an amount of 3 weeks by researching potential contact with the free business premium for 30 days. I was quite successful, but without this tool, if you do too much research, after a short while, you get cut and they say, oh, you have been doing too much things.
Yeah, yeah. If obviously, well, that would be. Thanks for sharing that, Jean-Luc. And yes, you're absolutely right. As you can, it's similar to what I mentioned earlier. Obviously, you have been researching too much, and is kind. You know, if you do that, it's kind of a, as everybody knows, it's kind of a how you say, it's a fake limitation, right? That they create. So if you're looking to increase your reach at that pace, it might be worthwhile for you to get your hands on the Sales Navigator, or you might have to get yourself one of these tools, and not because you need it, but just because if you don't have it, they prohibit you from doing something that is of zero cost to them, because how often you research is a matter of how much time you want to put into it. It doesn't cost them money for you to research. This is not like you drinking the free coffee and the free refills somewhere else, because in the US you have free refills very oftentimes in fast food restaurants. And if you sit there the entire day and you're refilling your cup 25 times, you might actually cost the restaurant more money than you generated in revenue, because they pay for the refill. But LinkedIn doesn't pay for your search. It doesn't cost them any money. It's just an artificial way of saying, so you seem to like our tool a lot, would like you to show that gratitude by giving us your money. So if that is the case, then it doesn't change the fact that you wouldn't need the tool, right? Technically speaking, it's just if you have a fake or an artificial limitation as to how often you can use a tool unless you pay, and you want to use it more, then you will have to pay. Yeah.
Okay.
Merci, Jean-Luc.
Thank you.
Any other questions outside of also how LinkedIn is trying to monetize us, which is, it's an interesting topic we can speak a lot about.
German, this is Joshua here. Yes, thanks for a wonderful first session already on establishing the brand. My question is more towards once you established it, how often is this need to keep churning out articles or referring to articles? In LinkedIn, I see many of the business leaders, like at least the top ones, like always have every other day or every day something to show. And at one point it becomes that you just lost with it and you don't find it relevant. So as part of sustaining a impactful brand image,
yeah,
do you speak to like, okay, what is the right level of exposure that makes it more meaningful at some point?
Yep. It's a great question, Joshua. Thank you very much, and also for the feedback. We'll go into that at all depth in the second session, but not to leave you hanging without an answer before that. Simply put, there are two answers to that question. One is the technical answer in terms of reach. The ideal frequency indeed is 5 times a week on every single day, right? This is what the platform will tell you in terms of exposure. So yes, frequency. However, and again, I'll dive into that a lot in the following session. If you do not have something really interesting and relevant to say on any given day, because that is absolutely fine. We are humans. Not everything is really interesting. Then it's better not to do it. So you should never become a slave of a technical frequency that a platform recommends, diluting the credibility and the relevance of your message if you have nothing to say. If you got nothing to say, you better shut up and wait until tomorrow. And if you don't say anything in a week, it's not going to be a deterioration of your brand. It's better to open your mouth when you got something really relevant and interesting to say than just because, oh, I haven't said something in a while. So don't feel the pressure of frequency. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's great to hear. I mean that would be good to know in the next sessions how to kind of like pace yourself and make sure that you don't become irrelevant as an ad that's in the highway that you show in the cartoon. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Appreciate it, Joshua. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. I take that you are ready to grab yourself a coffee. It's 10:31. Should we convene back in 15 minutes? Works for everyone? Yeah? Perfect. Then, assuming you're still hearing, see you in 15 minutes. All right. Welcome back. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes, sounds good.
Yes, fine.
Perfecto. Very good. All right. So let's, after that first introduction, let's dive now into the how, into the nitty-gritty details, step by step. Now, sorry. As I mentioned earlier, every single one of you is a brand. We are products. We are on permanent display. Something that is really interesting, I like every one of you to try to get your head around the importance of that, is we sorry, there you go. Also, in the context of our brand, that used to be a little simpler in the past. If you think about it, we always used to be in the room when our brand was present. So simply put, you put on a tie, you go to a meeting, or you don't put on a tie, however, that's obviously up to you, but you would go to a meeting, you would interact, and you would be the one who would provide usually the impression of yourself. So whenever you were in the room, your brand was in the room, and yourself and your presence and the impression you would generate on others was always entirely up to you, in your control. Now that has changed too, because while we are spending time together this morning, I don't know why, right? But I know for sure that someone in the south of Stockholm is currently checking out my LinkedIn profile. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they want. They might become the single most important business partner I ever deal with, and I've never met them. It all starts with that first visit. Now, as we currently speak, basically, my brand, every single one of your brands is making an impact, is creating an impression, is active. So we are no longer active when our brand is active, but currently, because of our presence on LinkedIn, our brand, consisting on our digital identity, is, as we speak, working for us passively. So while you're here, your brand is being advertised, is generating awareness, is building reputation, is generating reach. Because right now, as we speak, something you might have posted last week is being commented upon by someone you might or might not know. So no longer you have full control of what your brand does, unless you become conscious of that and make sure that it works for you as good as it can all the time. Because our brands are now visible 24/7, 365 in 140 countries in the world. So no longer you have, you have the possibility of controlling the impression you generate because your brand is doing that for you. And that is quite an important aspect. You know this expression, right? You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Sorry, there you go. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. So we all know this is true. And this is something I was mentioning earlier. It's quite stunning how much time and money and effort we make to have a proper suit or dress and cut our hair and shave in the morning. Well, I don't shave in the morning, but and we present ourselves good. We want to make a good impression. So we go to work, or we go to a meeting, we go to a networking event, if those are possible again at some point, and all of a sudden we are making an impression about ourselves. Actually, the fact that that is an intrinsic part of our lives is demonstrated by how much we're currently talking about the home office and the fact that people are not shaving or not going to the hairdresser or not putting on pants and so on. You've all heard the jokes, right? This is because we are absolutely used to dress, to style, to actively pursue the impression that we generate as a brand when we are in the room. And as I mentioned earlier, and I checked you out this morning, most of you looking clearly above average and looking good. But the first impression that people generate these days is no longer them being in the room. In more cases than not, outside of coincidence, our first impression tends to be our LinkedIn profile. Now, please think about this for a second and tell me if I'm wrong, but I hear from Freddie that he would like me to meet his colleague Thomas next Thursday. It's not true, but let's assume that was the case. And it's like, oh, come on, I'd like you to introduce you to Thomas, or I think you should meet Thomas, or this is a normal conversation like it happens every. The first thing you do you know Thomas so and so? The first thing you do, what is it? You go on LinkedIn and you check the person out. That's the first thing I do. I've seen myself, by the way, in events, meeting physically with people, hearing their name or hearing the name of someone they would like to introduce me to, and while I was with you, checking out their profiles on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. So in other words, despite the person was in the room, 12 meters further away and 30 seconds outside of me connecting with that person, still, the first impression before I decided, absolutely, I would like to meet that person, please introduce us, will be that person's LinkedIn profile. Now, that first impression is one that you can choose to take as much care of as you do when you dress to go to work or to go to a meeting or go to the hairdresser or clean your car before you visit a client or whatever it is that you do, or you can choose not to. But that first impression will most likely be your LinkedIn profile. And actually, I don't know if this resonates with you, but I have decided, I decide regularly, almost on a daily basis, based on your LinkedIn profile, whether you are relevant to me or not, whether I want to meet you or not, whether I have seen myself being approached by people, checking their LinkedIn profile, and based upon that, deciding, do I have time for you or not? Do I want to meet you? Do I want to physically meet you? Do I want to have a call with you? Is it going to be a long call, a short call? I even have decided upon people's impression on LinkedIn to me, whether I was going to make 2 hours and invite them for lunch or not meet them at all. This is how we filter. And your brand, your presence, your profile will do that job or not. So when you come into the room and you present yourself and you're eloquent and you are energetic and you practice that handshake and that couple of sentences you say when you meet someone new to make a good impression, all of that is worth nothing if I already have an impression of you and it's shitty because I looked at your LinkedIn profile and I thought you were a loser or you sounded uninteresting to me. So that is something that I would like to, so basically your LinkedIn profile should take as much time, if not more, of you. The good news is you don't have to put that much effort and time behind it, right? It's relatively efficient, but technically speaking, you should be willing to invest as much time and as much money in getting a good shot of yourself, in looking and in creating the proper content, in working out your LinkedIn profile as you do in going to the hairdresser, in buying yourself a suit. Many of you might spend several $1,000s a year in clothing to go to work, but might not be willing to hire someone to make a professional shooting for a really good picture of your LinkedIn profile that might cost you $500. And I will not understand why that is the case. If you have a profile picture that is awesome, perfect, but if you haven't, don't shy back to make sure that it shines for you, because remember that your first impression will be that picture. And I'll show you a little later a few examples of how to fuck that up tremendously. You know, thank God it's not the case in any of you, but I'll be going through your profiles too and telling you whether you should get yourself a proper picture or not. And in some cases, by the way, good news is you don't have to do any of what I say, right? I'm just giving you advice, but if you decide to do so, it should make a difference. So our first impression is our LinkedIn profile. We should dedicate at least as much time and effort, or be willing to, as much time and effort to make sure that it shines as we do behind ourselves in our physical variation or version. Now, when it comes to the LinkedIn profile, now that we know how important it is to make a good first impression, the bad news is most people get it wrong. Right? Most people, I think can I paint here? I think I can paint here. Most people think can you see what I'm doing here? Yeah. I don't know. Thumbs up or not? Or, can you see that? No, you cannot see. All right. Well, I'll describe it.
I can come closer with the camera.
No, I'll just describe it. Don't worry. So ignore that for a second. So bear with my hands. Most people have as a LinkedIn profile. At the top right corner, you will put your picture. Then right on the side of it, you will have your business card. So whatever it says on your business card, this is how most LinkedIn profiles look like, right? Whatever it says on your business card will say so on your LinkedIn headline, right? It's usually your job title. And then underneath you have, and again, there are exceptions also here in the group, but for most people, you have a short version of your CV, like just, you know, bullet points, entries of the latest jobs that you had. Maybe you included your education. Done. That's it, right? Because people think that your LinkedIn profile is your online business card in combination with a short version of your CV, and pretty much that's it, right? That's how most LinkedIn profiles look like, and that is not the case. I would like to invite all of you to forget for a second about business cards and CVs. Forget about that, and think about yourselves as a product. Think about yourself as a physical product standing in a supermarket. So I would like to invite to think about what you today use as your business card as the front side, the front label of your product, of your bottle, that you're standing on a shelf. You're a shampoo, right? So I'd like to invite you to think about the top box in there as the front label of your product, and the bottom part of it, which today is your short version of a CV, as the back label of the product. So the top label, I used to work in fast moving consumer goods for many years. The front label of a product in a supermarket on the shelf has got one job, which is to sell the product to you, to tell you why you should take me home. And the back label of that product has got one job, which is why should you believe that what I'm saying in the front label is true? So that's basically the key role. So the product is not a business card. A business card is a description at best of something somebody is doing. Now, if you think about yourselves, let's imagine with that analogy, you go into a supermarket, right? And shampoos are my favorite product because it was the very first product I ever worked on many years ago. So you go to the supermarket and you find on the shelf a product that says shampoo. And right next to it, you find a product that says shampoo for colored and damaged hair with provitamin B5 and aloe vera for more shine and volume. So one is a basic description of the product category, which, by the way, many of you have on their LinkedIn. It says something like IT project manager at Swiss Life Insurance, or head of IT at this or that. That's your product category. The difference between a product category, a business card, and the front label of a proper product and a brand promise is exactly that. One tells you, this is the category in which I operate. I am a project manager. I am a head of something. I am whatever, head of sales, or you name it. The other one is a promise, a reason for you to buy me. So one says, I'm a shampoo. So understood, you somehow clean hair. The other one says, I'm a shampoo, so far so good, for colored and damaged hair. So who am I serving? With provitamin B5 and aloe vera. What makes me special? What do I have to offer that is maybe not unique, but potentially relevant to you as to why I'm able to do what I'm doing? And for more shine and volume means what is in it for you if you buy me. So you buy my product, you get shine and volume. So that is the difference between I am a project manager and something along the lines of IT, or you can keep your title if you don't want to be too funky about it. You call yourself, project manager, IT at helping, solving complex cybersecurity challenges to ensure data integrity for our customers. Well, one, it hasn't changed. You're still an IT project manager, but you are clearly stating how are you bringing value. Passionate about cybersecurity. So you can make that special. I'm a IT project manager, passionate about cybersecurity, relentlessly helping our customers keep their data safe. One is a promise. IT, and I don't know if you've ever heard that, but I had this quite often. I've had business cards in the past that were meaningless. Duh. You hand over someone a business card, like, oh, by the way, my favorite business title is business manager. Business manager. German Ramirez, business manager. All right, so you do something in somewhere. Okay, what the fuck do you do, right? So ideally, it's not my fault that my business card says business manager because some idiot decided to print that there, right? But it is my fault to not make my LinkedIn profile meaningful. So it's not about, it's really about trying to find the answer to who do I help? How do I help? What kind of help do I provide? What makes me special? What is my promise? Why should you buy me? And that is the difference between a brand and a business card. So if you've had suffered from business cards that are meaningless or don't help tell a story, the good news is you don't have to follow what it says on your business card. Shit on your business cards. Throw them away. Right? Think about yourself as a brand and try to define your brand promise. Why should someone get in business with you? What advantages do you bring to the table? What makes you special? What makes you unique? What makes you different? And I had a training 2 weeks ago or something with a large insurance company that I work with regularly, training their salespeople on LinkedIn and selling through LinkedIn. And it was interesting because I had a room with 10 people. And all of them, no joke, all of them were at the same level, in the same company, in different regional divisions, but all of them had the exact same business card. Exact. So I had a room with 10 people and all of them were finance planner, financial planner, financial advisor, financial planner, all of them. And funny enough, all of them, I opened all their LinkedIn, all of them had exactly the same headline, financial planner at insurance name. That was it. Now, During the course of the time I spent with them, first of all, and you're going to be radically surprised by this, they were all very different.
Not the same.
They had different personalities. They had different backgrounds. One of them was a lawyer, a former lawyer, who knew the ins and outs of the tax law brilliantly well. We spoke up during a coffee break, and it turns out that it was a lady that her superpower consisted of knowing the tax law extremely well because of her background and applying that knowledge onto helping her clients through their financial questions and insurance questions in order to save money for taxes. And she was the only former lawyer in the room. She was the only one that knew the law as good as, you know, as a tax advisor. But her LinkedIn profile looked exactly the same. Someone else in the room was an entrepreneur. On the side of working for this insurance company, he was running a family business in the gastronomy and whatever. So he comes from a family of entrepreneurs. And actually, it turns out that he was extremely successful and focused on small family-owned businesses and their financial needs. And it turns out that he was really good at it because he was running a small family business and taking care of his own financial needs. So all of a sudden, you know, once we finished it, it turned out that, and I hope I need to check them out, whether they'll change it or adapt it or not. But the brand promises of these two people, they sell the same product. They carry the same business card. They might receive similar amounts of salary. But they were very different. One of them was a financial planner, knowing the ins and outs of tax law as a former lawyer, good enough to be able to save you tangible money. And the other one was a family-owned, an entrepreneur running a family business that knows exactly what your needs are if you are running yourself a family business, and as such can help you navigate financial challenges. You get the idea. Different brands. You are not your business card. You are you. It doesn't matter how many people in your company have the same business card. You are unique. And you need to think about what makes you unique. Because your business card doesn't. In the case I mentioned earlier, I had 10 identical business cards. The only difference was the address, the region, and the name of the person. But I had 10 very different brands in the room. And every single one of them went home, hopefully, with the homework of actually understanding themselves as a brand and relaunching themselves as a brand. So in order to do that, I like to provide you with a thinking exercise that I invite you to take some time, maybe today, tomorrow, or whenever, if you want, and think about it. And the exercise, I call it, what do you want to be famous for? Right? So think about yourself, your abilities, your background, and think about what are things that you are really good at. In the case of the example that I mentioned earlier, this lady with the tax law, she was really good at tax law, right? That made her unique. For example, or it's one of the elements that make her unique. So what are things that you love? What are things that you like doing? And also in combination with that, how do you make money, right? Because at the end of the day, it's about you monetizing your brand. So, you know, what is it that what problems do you solve? What opportunities do you grasp that help you make money? So what do you want to be famous for? What makes you different? What makes you unique? And ideally, you will do this exercise. And by the way, once you've done this exercise, I would also invite you to try to translate whatever it is that the output of that exercise is into keywords, into single words, right? Because something, for example, I enjoy doing, and I am relatively, apparently good at doing, and I make money doing, is anticipating technological advances and their impact on businesses and society, and they're acting upon them. Now that's a huge, very long sentence, which is why I decided one day, or actually someone else did that for me, condense that into the word pioneer. I am a digital pioneer, digital blockchain and social media pioneer. That's what describes something that makes me unique, which is basically that ability to, or declared ability to. Now, so the word pioneer is, in this particular case, one of my keywords, but the most important keywords for me are digital, blockchain, and social media. And I'll get into the search and the algorithm in a second. So this is an offline exercise. This has nothing to do with LinkedIn for a sec. So this is really just about you, right? What makes you unique? Why you? What is in it for me if I buy you? Or if I work with you, if I hire you, or if I, whatever it is. Now, when you do that, by the way, just as a warning, try to stay away from the Swiss Army knife. And I say this with utmost respect to the Swiss Army. By the way, I'd like to prove you something. I love Swiss Army knives. Everybody needs a Swiss Army knife. There you go. See, I always carry one with me, right? I always carry a Swiss Army knife with me because you never know what you're gonna need. But having said that, a Swiss Army knife is a very dangerous tool, because the Swiss Army knife is the perfect tool that you always need when you got no fucking clue what you want, right? Because if we're honest, you can open a bottle of wine with the Swiss Army knife, but it's not the perfect tool to open a bottle of wine. You can also cut something with a Swiss Army knife, but it's not the perfect, how you say, knife. It's not the perfect knife. And also, if I'm going to spend the whole afternoon unscrewing and rescrewing my Harley Davidson, believe me, I'm not going to use the Swiss Army knife. When you know what tool you need to do a job, you don't take a Swiss Army knife. You take the tool. So if I know I'm going to open a bottle of wine and that's all I need, and I'm at home, I'm going to get myself a proper wine bottle opener that only does that, and does that much better than a Swiss Army knife. Now, this is something that you need to also keep in mind when you are building your own brand. Because if I was specialized on everything, I would be specialized on nothing. You can buy from the same brand a shampoo and a conditioner. But if you see that L'Oreal is specialized on shampoo, conditioner, coffee, and ketchup, you probably wouldn't buy the shampoo from L'Oreal, because you wouldn't believe that they have the ability of being awesome at ketchup, awesome at coffee, and awesome at shampooing. So try to also define what are the confines, the limitations of what you do. So if I'm an expert in IT, I cannot be an expert in all IT. I'm probably, in the example I was giving earlier, I'd be passionate and expert about cybersecurity and data protection for customers. Maybe, and that is big enough in itself. But if you say IT, if I say I'm an expert in marketing, you're like, okay, so is that above the line, below the line, digital marketing, traditional marketing? Is it marketing advertising? Is it marketing research? Is it marketing strategy? Is it operations? Is it marketing analytics? What, if I say I'm an expert in innovation, at the end, are you developing new drugs against COVID, or are you developing new mobile applications for data protection, or are you launching new branches of fintech, whatever? If I say I'm an expert in strategy, you don't know, okay, so are you helping companies with their M&A, or are you doing IT strategy? So usually it's never one huge, large category. So if you think back on the exercise we said earlier, in terms of keywords, it tends to be the combination of things. If I say I'm an expert in digital, you will know if I build websites, but if I say I'm an expert in innovation, in marketing through digital technologies, or in developing strategies for marketing innovation through digital technologies, then you know I'm not developing a cure against COVID. Then you know I'm not launching a new app. Then you know I'm not talking about mergers and acquisitions. So usually it's the combination of different aspects that make us unique, that make us not a Swiss Army knife as an expert in IT. Because all of you are experts in project management. And by the way, I'm not diving into whether you could, technically speaking, be an expert project manager in every kind of projects, because projects have a similar way of going about them and so on. So yeah, you could, but it's much less easy to believe that you are an expert in managing anything than that you are an expert in managing complex IT infrastructure migration projects for in SAP environments. I'm not really sure I know what I'm talking about, but you get the idea. Right? So you do want to be a little bit more focused and more unique, because the next absolute expert in doing what it is that you're also doing will be one click away. So that's why, you know, I'm an expert in branding. I could help Coca-Cola build their brand, but I try to not pitch against the future brands and the big brand agency that charge millions and have armies, and because I won't be able to compete against them. So basically, I'm specialized in emerging technologies and disruption and so on and so forth. That is easier to believe. So and this is something that I think is really important when you define your field. If you go too narrow, it might limit your possibilities. But it's much more likely that you will stay too broad, and then it will basically be unclear, unfocused, or eventually not credible. So think about that. Now, so you know the exercise, doing it with the keywords, you know where to set your own boundaries, and it's a combination of different elements. And now one of the challenges that we have to keep in mind when we do that is, especially for digital platforms, is that we have become slaves of an algorithm, simply put. Nothing is more dead than the second page of a Google search. So if for example, now I've defined that I want to be, German Ramirez, I want to be found when someone is looking for an expert for digital marketing, as an example, or for social media in the blockchain space, or for a few series of items. It's not me who decides whether I am the #1 expert of that or not. It's an algorithm. There are two ways how we will find someone on LinkedIn. Number one, I'm going to hear that I'm going to hear a name, right? Freddie Verley. You should meet with Freddie. So I go on LinkedIn and I look for him. That's what I did this morning, by the way. I looked you guys up. Some of you have other people that also have your own name. There are 826 German Ramirez on LinkedIn. My name doesn't. So in some cases, I had to pick which one was you, right? But I was looking for you, so I found you. I hope I found you. But that's not the kind of search that's important. That's basically someone looking to find your profile. The search that's most important is when someone doesn't know that your name is the answer to their question, because their question is not your name or who you are. Their question is, who is a leading digital marketing expert in Switzerland? I want to be the one who is found, but that is not up to me to decide, because you go on LinkedIn and you ask LinkedIn, who is the #1 expert in digital marketing in Switzerland? And then LinkedIn tells you, well, in Switzerland, I have found 8,386 digital marketing experts. And this is the list of the best 10. And that's the one we look at. That's the ones we look at. It's not the best digital marketeer in Switzerland. It's the LinkedIn profile that dictates who is the best digital marketeer in Switzerland. So now, in order to do that, we need to understand briefly how the algorithm works. What is the logic that LinkedIn applies to make sure that I am the profile that is found whenever you're looking for an expert? Now, the exercise we did before is to define what do we want to be famous for. In other words, what do we want to be found for? So what type of searches are the ones in which we are expected to come on top? In order to do that, to determine that, the algorithm from LinkedIn uses two separate formulas. And I'll explain both of them in exemplary. This is probably a super complicated MIT math student developed kind of shit, right? But simplified, on the one side, it's called profile strength, and on the other side, it's called degree of proximity. So these are the two key factors: profile strength and degree of proximity. The challenge that we have when you think about the LinkedIn algorithm is that the LinkedIn algorithm is super dumb. It's absolutely super dumb. It's really, really bad. If your name is written with an umlaut, and you write Verly or Voerly, or it might give you, it might just not find you at all. So it's really, if your name has, Americans, yeah, exactly. So Americans oftentimes have got a middle name. One of you guys this morning is Pierre. Pierre, it's possible that we have a Pierre.
Yeah, yes.
Pierre something, right?
Yes.
In the registration, it was Pierre Alain, Pierre
Anton.
Sorry?
Pierre Anton.
Pierre Antoine, exactly, Pierre Antoine. But on LinkedIn, you're Pierre Eichinger, right? So I just took away the Antoine and just typed in, and then I found you. But otherwise, when I looked for Pierre Antoine Eichinger, I found no one. So no one in the world is called Pierre Antoine Eichinger, right? Which is obviously not correct. But this is how dumb LinkedIn is, right? Now, so if you think about it, so the algorithm, what it does, simply put, is you go on LinkedIn and you're not looking for Pierre Antoine, you're looking for a digital marketeer. So you type in digital marketing, and then LinkedIn does the first exercise. And the algorithm does this extremely fast, and we are all very impressed by how smart it is and blah. But what it does is it goes through, if you say Switzerland, it goes through the approximately 2 million profiles of people that have Switzerland as their region, and takes the out of the 750 million worldwide, you say Switzerland, so it looks at 2 million, zooms in. And then it goes through every single profile and looks, where does the word digital and marketing appear? How many profiles contain the words digital and marketing in the profile? And it turns out, I made this number up, it's 8,323, right? So that's the amount of profiles in Switzerland that contain those words. And then it goes into those 8,323 and dives one level deeper. It scans through all of them, top to bottom. And what it does is it counts. It counts how often do the words digital and marketing appear in this profile, and where. Every word counts, but not every word counts the same. The keywords that have the most weight for the algorithm are the ones you put in your headline. Simply put, if you think about the ranking, there's a relatively simple logic to understand how much weight does a word have for the algorithm. It depends on where it's placed. The further up in the profile, and simply put, the bigger the letters with which it is written, the more weight it has. So the single biggest one, and at the very top, is your headline. So there, a word there, a keyword in that headline will carry the most weight. Then you have subheadlines. Your subheadlines are your job history, right? And they will have more weight than the content description of the job or the summary. And then comes the summary, and then comes so every single word counts. The content people write in your recommendations also count. Everything counts. Your skills, if you have endorsements, count as much as you have endorsements. All of the different elements count. Now, we'll get in a second into how to trick the system to make it more relevant. But if you know that, you do want to make sure that you utilize the different stations that that carry the most weight to repeat the keywords as much as possible, as prominently as possible. And at the same time, you do want to make sure that your profile is as extensive as possible, because the longer and more detailed it is, the more possibilities you will have to organically and semantically include in your writing those keywords. If you think about, if you were to look into my LinkedIn profile and you were to download it and you were to print it, please do not do that, then it would be 16 pages long. So my LinkedIn profile is 16 pages long. I have a shit ton of recommendations, a lot of details, and now if you visit my profile and you don't, just like a regular user, you will find that a lot of the sections you have to click on see more, read more, see another 5 positions. So it doesn't overwhelm you. If you visit my profile and you don't click on read more, you don't notice that it's that long. I got, 80 recommendations or something in my profile, but you only see the last 2. Now, if you want to see more and you click on read more, the content is there. But then you cannot complain about having too much content because you don't have to click, right? But the algorithm reads all of it. So it's extremely long and extremely rich. If you think about it, what I said earlier, my business card has a very simple title, and that's it. And you have the business card and then the short CV. Now, in my case, my LinkedIn headline is 220 characters, which is as long as it can be. And my LinkedIn profile is much more detailed than my CV, much more detailed. I cannot, if I'm not applying for a job, but if there is a job application and I send a CV that is 16 pages long, they're gonna think I'm crazy. They're gonna throw it away right away. However, sometimes when you get asked by someone, could you send me a CV? It's like, no. You go on my LinkedIn profile, which is much more detailed than my CV, and if you have any questions there, you will find more, more answers than anywhere else. So why is it so long and so detailed? It's because the algorithm will feed out of all that content to make my profile stronger. So because of the length and detail level of my profile, I have been able to squeeze the word digital, which is one of my top keywords, in my profile 86 times. So my profile contains the word digital 86 times, which, by the way, is longer than some people's profiles are in altogether, right? And this is, and that's not because I am in love with myself or I think I'm super cool, or no, it's just because the more stuff you pack in there, the more possibilities you have to integrate the keywords in a way that works. So that's why more is better. The first formula, profile strength, analyzes how frequent do the keywords appear and where. So with that in mind, once you have defined your keywords, you do want to redo your profile to make sure that the keywords appear as often as possible in as prominent position as possible. And the more details, volunteer experiences, awards, honors, patents, publication, you can add so much shit there. Do it. Because the more stuff you put in, the more you will feed the algorithm with opportunities to place the right keywords. And the stronger your profile will be for the search for that you want to be found for. That is essential. And that is why more is better. So that's the first formula, which carries a lot of weight. The second, by the way, I mentioned is degree of proximity. Degree of proximity does not look at how strong is a profile for a given word, but it looks as who is searching. So in other words, in the example I mentioned earlier, we have Freddy looking for a digital marketing expert in Switzerland. So he goes on LinkedIn, he types digital marketing, he limits the region to Switzerland and presses search. Now, LinkedIn will also find, in Freddy's case, 8,323 experts, but it will deliver a different ranking than if, for example, Joshua does the same exercise, because Freddy and Joshua are different. So the second formula, degree of proximity, what it does is it puts the searcher in the middle, Freddy or Joshua, and the 8,323 people around those profiles, and establishes how many commonalities does Freddy have with each and every one of the 8,200, and how many does Joshua have. For example, and I'm making this up, Joshua, please forgive me and bear with me. Same for you, Freddy. Joshua is based in Basel and Freddy is based in Zurich. I am one of the results that is hoping to appear in the list, and I am based in Zurich. So from actually, no, we should do this. So I made this bad. Let's assume Joshua and myself. Joshua is a digital marketeer. I am a digital marketeer, and Freddy is the one who's looking, right? Sorry, I made the exercise wrong. So Freddy is looking, and Joshua, as well as myself, we both want to appear in Freddy's search. Let's assume you and I are the only two digital marketeers in all of Switzerland. So Freddy looks in Switzerland for a digital marketeer. You and I are his only two options. Now it's about, are you on top of it or I am on top of it? Let's assume that your profile contains the word digital also 86 times in exactly the same positions as mine, so that you and I are identical in terms of profile strength. Now, since you're based in Basel, and Freddy is based in Zurich, and I am based in Zurich, the degree of proximity from Freddy to me is closer, geographic proximity. So I get extra points for that. But you used to work at Swiss Airlines and Swiss International Airlines, and Freddy is working at Swiss International Airlines. So you have that in common. So the degree of proximity between you and Freddy gets points for that. Now, I studied in St. Gallen, and Freddy studied in St. Gallen, and you studied at ETH. So the degree of proximity from our academic background is stronger for me to Freddy, so I get points for that. And you have 50 connections in common with Freddy, and I only have 5 connections in common with Freddy, so you get for each of those connections extra points. So you understand the idea. Basically, the stronger the closer you are to someone who is looking, the more likely it is that that person will appear in your search. And then what the algorithm does is it combines the points that you get for profile strength and the points that you get for degree of proximity. It mixes them up, adds a weird factor, and gives you the ranking. So what this means for us, if we want to rank high when someone is looking for what we want to be found for, implies repetition and positioning and frequency of keywords that we want to be found for. And here's something that also is important: the more details you put into your profile, the more possible commonalities the algorithm will find. If I include skills and I happen to have skills in common with searchers, they will give me points. If I include my academic background and I connect it to the right pages, that will give me points. If I include my entire working history and I connect that to the right company pages, that will give me points. If I literally everything, all the way down to I follow Bill Gates and you follow Bill Gates too. Every single little item in your profile will be used. I speak Spanish, you speak Spanish. It's stupid, but it's like that. Basically, every single thing in your profile will bring me closer or not. So not only it's important to have details because it gives you the excuse, the opportunity to place more frequent keywords, but also because it also finds ways to establish commonalities between yourself and the searching universe. By the way, to my knowledge, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think outside of course of the gentleman in the room, I have never met any of you this morning. However, when I was checking your profiles on LinkedIn, I noticed, and if you've checked mine in the meantime, you might have noticed that too, that I am second degree connected to every single one of you. So there is not one person in this room that I don't know someone who knows you. And there is not one person in this room that you don't know someone who knows me. Right? So, in other words, a lot of, and we're going to dive deeper into that in the second session, because today is not about the networking, but simply put, the more connections you have in the environments that are relevant for you, the more you will, the closer you will be to an entire universe. So a lot of people think about, oh, how many connections is healthy? How many people should I connect with? I don't know that person, should I connect? We'll dive into that in the second session. But as a simple rule of thumb in general, regardless of how we deal with the networking and the relevance of that, second session, the more people you are connected with, the more likely it is you will be connected to someone who is closer to someone else. And therefore, the more likely you will be found when someone searches for what you're trying to sell. So, and by the way, I have this, it's an unproven theory, but so far I have not encountered in the last years, I have not encountered anyone in Switzerland working remotely in anything that might have anything to do with that I'm trying to do, that has more than 100 connections that I don't know someone who knows them. So in other words, it's barely impossible to live in Switzerland, be remotely relevant to me, and not know someone who knows me. You can't. And that is super helpful because I appear in searches that are relevant to me, which by the way, is the beginning of a possible business deal in whatever direction. I don't know how often, but like all the time, people find me all the time. They find me all the time because my profile has been engineered for them to find me all the time. And if you know that and you apply that and you become the profile people see when they're looking for whatever it is you're trying to be found for, well, that's the beginning of building your brand. So really important at this stage. Now,
it's a good statement. Your profile has to be engineered.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is all strategy and engineering. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm. Very good. So with that, I invite you to do this, basically to take this exercise. You saw the exercise earlier, which we did, like which is an offline exercise. You sit down, you think about keywords, you think, what do you want to be famous for? And so once you've done that exercise, you go into the application of that onto your LinkedIn profile. So the first thing is the exercise we did before. You have to find your brand. What makes you unique? What do you want to be famous for? What is your value proposition? Why should I buy you? You translate that into keywords. Then you go and you check how is that operating? How is that working in the market? Now, this has to do a lot with the fact that LinkedIn is very, very dumb. So it's quite interesting, but if I want to be famous for talent acquisition, LinkedIn might give me a hard time because people are looking for HR or for human resources. And the LinkedIn search doesn't know that human resources and HR are the same. It doesn't know it. In the meantime, LinkedIn has learned that customer relationship management and CRM are the same. And it took them many years to do that, right? So if you look for CRM, you get, or you used to get, significantly more results than if you look for customer relationship management. So think about a gorilla in front of a bar. You know, 2 meters tall, 2 meters wide, as per the cliche, and I know I am offending an entire work group, dumb, right? But also with a huge amount of power. So I am trying to get into the Congress of digital marketeers. And the algorithm is that gorilla in front of the bar. So you got this gorilla standing there, and you go, "Hi, German Ramirez, online marketeer." And you go, "Sorry, sir, you're not on my list. Please step aside. Could you check digital marketeer?" "Oh yeah, I got that. But you said online marketeer. Sorry, sir, please step." "But is that, sir, please step aside. You don't want to discuss with this guy. You know, he decides whether you get into the bar or not. But it does it based on an absolute stupid binary list of specific keywords. So I had to decide whether I wanted to be famous for online, internet, web, digital. I picked digital. I need to decide whether I want to be famous for crypto or blockchain or DLT, for social networks, for social sales, for social media, for these are things you need to define, and you define them based on going on LinkedIn and trying to see what is being used by others. What do I find? If you search for IP, it will be internet protocol or intellectual property. So what is it now? You're going to find yourself among a shit ton of computer experts and lawyers. So where do you want to fit? How clear is it what you're doing? Had the other day, I mean, and this is something I invite you guys to do, because most of you have got PMI and PMP and or PMP on your profiles. If you are absolutely 100% certain that people are looking for that, awesome, keep it. If you are not, then reconsider it. If you're absolutely positive that people are looking or not for it, understand it when they see it, keep it. If not, you might want to reconsider. So what are people looking for? That is what is decisive. I've had this also with, you know, the financial planner exam. Everyone is called EFA. It's kind of a, and I asked them, do your customers know what it is? No, we always have to explain it. So why the fuck do you put it there? It's like no one's going to look for it. Why should I look for EFA if I don't know what it is? And if I find the keyword EFA, am I going to understand what it says? And if I don't, why are you putting it there? Why do you do that to me? I just made me feel dumb. Yeah? So yeah, and once you have
our customer look for PMP.
Oh, perfect. No, if that's the case. So this is exactly the exercise. So understanding what are people looking for, and if that's the case, perfect. You need to keep it, right? But that's the exercise with the whole keywords. So once you've defined your final keywords, then it's time to go and redo your profile. And what you do, as mentioned earlier, you know, it's really about where in the profile it's keywords. It's really keywords, repetition. And as I mentioned earlier, the more content you have, the more you can use the word digital. In the first, it's just digital is the first word in my profile. It's the first word in my summary. It appears in my summary. I don't know how often, and it's really about that repetition. But the single most important element in your whole profile is your headline. I would invite you to think of your headline as your post-it pitch, right? The front label of your shampoo. One sentence or a combination of keywords that make clear what people are buying, because it's algorithm optimized, of course. That people understand what it is they're buying. Why it is so important? Because your picture, your name, and your headline are the three things that you will carry with you around everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. You post something on LinkedIn, people can click on your profile, and if they do, they will see your entire profile. But what they do see is your name, your picture, and your headline. You comment on someone else's post, people see your name, your headline, your picture. You know, even if you send someone an email and they hover over your profile, then what appears? Name, photo, and headline. Your name is your name. Make sure you write it correct. If you have an umlaut or something like that, then I'm sorry for you. Not much you can do. Hoping it finds it correctly. But the only the two things that are really important, is your headline, which is where you put in your brand promise, and your picture. And as mentioned earlier, you know, pictures, when you think of LinkedIn and you think of pictures, I have seen the weirdest of things. So first of all, make sure you use a picture. And something that's important, because some of you, and this is something sometimes people don't know, at least one of you have a picture, probably, but it's not visible to people that are not in your network. So you can decide what is the visibility of your picture. Please, people who are in your network ideally already know how you look like. So do all of us a favor and make it visible to those who you don't know, right? I don't know if you've done that, but I even go when I'm meeting with someone I've never met before, and I'm meeting them in the cafe. In the past, you used to say, "Oh, I'm wearing a red tie." Today, you don't say that anymore because you know how I look like, because I'm on LinkedIn. So make sure I recognize you, right? Make sure it's you. Make sure I recognize you. Ideally, it is your picture in close-up, in high quality, representing who you are as a brand. And by the way, something that people always do and do wrong is you evaluate the quality of your picture and how you get across, usually in your entire screen, or on your profile. But the page based on which people decide to click on your profile to get to see you in all your brightness is usually a very kind of tiny, right? So you got that the search result button is like that. Or when you post or comment something on it, right? So if I have to go full-fledged, full zoom in from outside the world into your face to actually recognize you, you're asking too much of me. Ideally, your picture should work on this size, right? Now, why is that important? It's not a beauty contest, and it doesn't mean that it's really not about looking good. It's really about representing yourself and being recognizable, and being relatable at the end of the day. That's all about. It's establishing a connection with the human being looking for you, because nobody wants to talk to a gray, empty space. This is why we should always have a picture. Here you got some examples. And these are all real examples from LinkedIn. If you can see the screen, these are all real examples from LinkedIn that you find. We got a gentleman called Ninja, right? And obviously, and he's the only person in the world that I forgive to have no, can you see that? There you go. I don't know if you, or you can see the screen also in Snap.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So you have, for example, you have our friend the Ninja, yeah? Or this is also another typical thing. Someone, after I explained to you earlier how important it is that you as a personal brand have more power than a company, and some people just would put the logo of their company in there. Or another one of my favorite, and I've seen this before, is someone who's got more than one person in the picture. So this is a lady called Anna, and obviously I know her, so I know who the one she is, but this is in case of doubt, you're supposed to pick one. I don't know. And this is another example of what I meant earlier. Someone that in big, this gentleman in here, if you zoom into the profile and click on it, it looks awesome. Oh, he's standing somewhere doing a keynote. Very good. You are super influencing. But I would need to zoom and zoom and zoom to recognize this guy if I go on a conference, or weird things like, he's not a black Uber driver, by the way. I did check that because I thought, oh, maybe he's a black Uber driver. But no, that is the perfect picture for a black Uber driver, but not for someone in the blockchain business. Right? So these are just some examples. Making sure you got a great picture is extremely important. And also, and this is something that many of you have, but a lot of you don't have, is the cover. What is in the back of your picture? By the way, absolutely irrelevant for the algorithm. That it doesn't matter. However, human beings are visual beings, and a picture does say more than 1,000 words. So someone will come on your profile, and what is the key visual that you want them to remember? It can be your company. You're proud of your brand. There are many ways, for example, to display here UBS, or it can be local pride. This gentleman is obviously based out of Zurich. Or what I am a big fan of, try to demonstrate expertise. This gentleman, if you're familiar in any ways with blockchain technology, you see this and you know immediately, he's a blockchain IT nerd. And I say this with respect and admiration, right? If you're not familiar with blockchain technology and you see this, you would just say, okay, he is an IT nerd, right? So he's very clearly sending out a technical competence message through a simple picture. So you land on his profile and you immediately understand he is all about blockchain technology, technical competence. You see that. Or you can use it to put out, how you say, an advertising brand or a statement or something like that. There you go. So, oh, by the way, since you're all in Switzerland, in case of doubt, use mountains. Mountains always work, right? I had no idea. I'm always fascinated by you guys' lost for mountains. There is barely any bank or financial institution or whatever, or corporation in Switzerland that I've come across that at some point in time does not show mountains in its stuff. It's amazing. It's amazing. Love the mountains. Anyways, that's another option. Also, by the way, pay attention on how you position it, because depending on the specifics of the banner, this is a very smart lady that on the desktop, her statement is don't wait for opportunity created, but on the mobile phone, her statement is wait for opportunity, because her picture is covering the sentence, right? So make sure that that you have it well positioned. Or my friend Andreas, who is no longer with Credit Suisse, but was now, he's got at all this length to go and show the pride for his brand, and happens to have all of this blue space out there where he could have it, but he put his face on top of it. Why? Because not long ago, your face used to be in the middle, right? And once LinkedIn moved it to the left, people forget to check how their profiles look like on different devices, right? One of the most important and counterintuitive steps that I would kindly invite you to do is to take every single business card you have had in your history and burn it. Make a big pile and burn it, right? Pour yourself a drink and watch it burn. You go on why? Well, first of all, many of you, we've had the example before, got business manager or project manager or something that is relatively unclear, meaningless, and important, very poor on keywords. So, scheiß drauf, like they say here. If you go on my LinkedIn profile, my business cards, if someone of you would want a business card from my company, Spark and Strategy, it says Spark and Strategy underneath digital and social media consulting and coaching, and my title is founder and managing partner. That's my title. However, founder and managing partner in isolation, not in the context of a business card, with me in the room and that standing right under my name. And you can ask me, oh, all right, so what do you guys do? Well, actually, it says so in the name of the company because it's digital. But if you think about it, and I am not in the room, my business card title is the only thing that needs to do the job for me, then I would not call myself founder and managing partner, because you have no idea if I'm the founder and managing partner of a law firm specialized on divorcing expats in Switzerland, or if I'm the founder and managing partner of McKinsey in New York, or of a advertising agency in Berlin specialized on influencer marketing. You have no idea. How are you supposed to know? Because founder and managing partner is a stupid, meaningless title. If I only had my title to tell an entire story and sell it, my title should be digital and social media consultant and coach, because that's the closest thing that describes what it is that I do if I only have that to save my life. So first of all, if you go through my profile and you see founder and managing partner, you have to read further to know what the fuck that is, unless you know my firm, which you won't. And therefore, that is a hurdle that I like to take away from you. That's why I changed my title from founder and managing partner into digital and social media consultant and coach. Second, if the algorithm determines whether I am found or not, and I write founder and managing partner, which you're not looking for, And then underneath it describes, I am the proud founder and managing partner of a company, and I provide with services in digital and social media consulting. And that means that the algorithm gives less points for that keyword than for that keyword. So there is less likely for you to find me. In other words, burn your titles. Transform every single position you have had in your life. Once you've determined your keywords, transform them backwards into what they should have been if their only job was to completely in isolation and by themselves tell a keyword enriched story of what it is that you do there or did there. I'll give you an example. In my very first job, in mid of the 90s at Henkel, I was international product manager and director of new media. It was called new media because I invented it. I was the new media department of Henkel. Henkel didn't have really, it was the project I did. But new media, mid of the 90s, internet was new media. Now today, nobody would refer to internet as new media. Therefore, I burned my business card. And if you look into my profile, in my backwards, 1996, it says international product manager and manager or director digital media, because digital is how you would call it today. First. Second, it is easier because if a millennial Googles me and goes like, what the fuck is new media? What do you mean by new media? Internet, that's not new. I grew up with it. Internet is older than me. And the algorithm gets another digital with extra points. So, and last example, I have the honor, for example, to teach in St. Gallen. I think I mentioned that earlier. And it's quite cool. You tell someone, yeah, I teach in St. Gallen. And they go like, yeah. And you go like, I know. And then the first question that comes is always, what the fuck do you teach? And it's like, well, I teach digital branding, entrepreneurial branding, social media. It's like, and here's what people might think and never say. It should say that on the card, right? So I wouldn't have to ask you. Well, I cannot write that by hand in every single business card, but I can do it on LinkedIn. So burn your titles, burn your past, optimized, keyword optimize your future. There you go. I think I mentioned this before, that making the profile as complete as only possible. The more details you put inside, the more it will also help your degree of proximity, the stronger it will be. So more is better. One more tip in regards to profiles, your skills. Happy to go through what I mean by the mushroom effect, but you have in your LinkedIn profile a section called skills. And all of you are skilled in something. Now, this is a little bit of a tricky section because a lot of people don't really take care of it. And then what happens in my garden, because I'm a really terrible gardener. So my garden has a lot of champignons and unkraut. Bad weeds, I don't know how you call it. Why? They grow there and they grow and they grow, and if you don't do anything about it, they keep growing. And this is what happens with a lot of skills and skill sections. I've seen people being famous or skilled in Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Office, absolutely stupid things, irrelevant things. And it's really about making sure that you collect the endorsements behind your skills, and that you first appoint what skills do you want to collect endorsements for. And there is a way how you can decide which ones are you currently collecting for. Skills are worth nothing unless people endorse you for them. But if you might have seen this before, it sometimes says like you've been endorsed by this skill by someone who is very skilled at it, or Yeah. So it does. The algorithm knows if you say I'm an expert in project management, and your your husband, your wife gives you a +1, that might not mean anything. But if you said you're an expert in project management and you have 99 people that have said and confirmed that, when someone is looking for an expert for project management, that will carry weight. So that's why the skills are important to be managed and to be collected endorsements upon. Another thing is, this has to do with how many people visit your profile. The more people find you, the more people visit your profile, the more famous you become, but also the more opportunities you give people to endorse you for things. So, and you, of course, you can ask that properly. But I'll try to show you later on your own profiles what I mean by that, and I'm sure I'll find some good examples of how not to do it, and I apologize in advance already. Now, one of the most underestimated this is the last element before I jump into each of your profiles quickly. The last super underestimated area of people's or LinkedIn's profiles are recommendations. First of all, profiles with active recommendations appear 3 times more often in the search. So if people recommend you, you will rank higher. And the content of their recommendations, if someone says, I really appreciate working with German, he's a great digital leader, and we did with him a digital project, and he helped us gaining further digital skills. There you go, 3 more points for my algorithm brownie collection, right? So ask people for recommendations. But by the way, when you do that, make sure that you don't that you give people an opportunity to opt out, but also that you personalize the text and that you talk to them and just not saying, hey, I like to ask you for a recommendation for my LinkedIn profile, because that's almost offensive. Like, yeah, I'd like you to spend 15 minutes of your life thinking about how you could help me, but I am too busy, important, and or lazy to write you a proper message, personalized, that asks you to invest 50 minutes of your time, because my time is precious. Yours, obviously not. So that's what you're telling me if you're sending me an automated, please give me a recommendation on LinkedIn. In order to do that, in case you haven't done, you go on the profile of the person you want to recommend you. You click on more. You click on request a recommendation. A self-explanatory pop-up window will come up where you have to determine what is your relationship with the person. And then a little message note will come up that you can personalize, and you have to personalize, for fuck's sake, please do that. That asks the person for a recommendation. The person gets an email with a link, can click on the link, write down a recommendations like, I don't know, met German Ramirez during this Congress and so, extremely inspiring, blah, 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 and then you get that recommendation in an email. And you can decide whether you want to add it to your profile or request a change, which you probably shouldn't do, or ignore. So that's how you work that out. All righty, so that's the checklist I mentioned earlier for all of you. Not in a particular, as good as I could in the order. First, you define your brand and your keywords. Based on that, after done the research, you make a very keyword-rich, strong headline. You make sure you have a professional headshot. You make sure you have a proper background picture / cover. Define your industry. You personalize your URL. Then you write a summary, which is keyword-rich. You can include stuff, include links, include presentations. You did a TED Talk, put your video up there, show rather than tell. Connect your website, your blog, whatever it is that you have. Then make sure you insert every single position, every single title, and you burn the titles. So now you can optimize your past titles for keywords. You describe what you did in every single position, and you do so rich in keywords. Then you also need to make sure that you connect your profile to the right company pages. You do that by simply typing the name of the company exactly the way it exists on LinkedIn. If your company doesn't have a LinkedIn page, that's not going to work, but most do. You have added skills. You didn't overdo it with skills because you want to collect endorsements for your most important skills. you can put 50 skills on your profile and you will connect endorsements for all of them. And in Germany, they say small birds also make shit. But in Spain, we say an ox shits more than 100 doves. So it's better to have a few skills that are super endorsed than just, and 50 skills that are very, very littly endorsed. You include your language, you include your education, you include everything, and you at least you have requested recommendations. Don't be frustrated. The usual ratio is 1 to 4, means you have to request 4 recommendations to get 1 that you can add to your profile. This has to do with the fact that some people never use their LinkedIn profiles or don't know about. You can increase it by actually speaking to people and saying, by the way, Freddie, if you're happy with what we did last month, I'd like to ask you for a recommendation. It would be really, and if you do that, it's much easier than you just drop me a note on LinkedIn. So, but yeah, make sure that you at least have requested those recommendations. And feel free to follow influencers, follow schools, follow also, first of all, you might get some interesting content to see on your timeline, but second of all, that also will establish a certain degree of proximity. And you can also, by the way, you can make a statement about your brand by, for example, following particular type of leaders. You want to show that you're very creative or very provocative or very disruptive, well, then go and follow disruptive, provocative, inspiring institutions, leaders, and so on and so forth, because that will say a lot about you. I can say a lot about people when I go on their LinkedIn profile and I see that they follow Simon Sinek. I know a lot about people when I go on their LinkedIn profile and I notice they're following Elon Musk or Richard Branson, or it's quite interesting, but it does say a lot about people who they are following. And I can very oftentimes actually make kind of a Myers-Briggs profile. I do profile people based on what I see on their LinkedIn profiles. That's extremely helpful. So now,
Daniel Sigrist has a question.
Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't get what is a personalized URL.
Thank you for that. Very good. I'll show you briefly. Actually, when I was reading it, I know there was Daniel, or who's that?
Yes.
Thank you, Daniel, for noticing that. You should see my screen now, right? There you go. This, you should see now my LinkedIn profile. Let me make this a little bigger for you.
Yes, I see it.
Perfect. Wait a second, I was going to do doom. All right. Sorry, it's frozen. This is not cool. Sorry, it's slow. There you go.
Not working?
No, it's somehow frozen. Okay, yeah, I zoomed.
Too many hits.
Yeah. That's the thing with once less. All right, I don't touch it anymore. Okay, so in order to change or personalize your URL, you have to go to your own profile. So you go to view your profile, and then you can only do this obviously for yourselves. On the top right corner, you will find a little button that says Edit Public Profile URL. If you click on that, you land on your public profile settings. First, my recommendation, make sure that your public profile is profile is visible publicly. Make sure, ideally, that everything in your profile is visible publicly. That will make a difference between you being found on Google, which LinkedIn is now one of the single most served Google search results when people look for individuals, so that they will find you on Google if your profile has been made public and everything in it is visible. See that? That's how I have it. But you also on the top right corner have here, edit your custom URL. So if you click on it, mine is Ger Ramirez, because German Ramirez was gone, which is surprising since I started 2005, but it's what it is. And in here, you can make sure that your public profile URL is not Ger Ramirez 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or whatever, right? It will look better, and you will be able to include it in your emails or in whatever if you have something more than just a button or something, right? So yeah, and by the way, I could also, if I wanted, I did try this for a while. I had Digital Pioneer as a URL on LinkedIn. If you look for it, turns out that the word pioneer is not something people look for, and the URL is something people don't notice. So I changed it back to Ger Ramirez, but you know, I do a shit ton of experiments all the time. So yeah, that's how you change your public profile URL, Daniel.
Thank you.
Sure. So let's look into you. We got a few minutes yet left, right? 12:30, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna do a very, oh, sorry, my God, first, excuse me. Is anybody in the, because I can't see all of you, does anybody have an issue with me showing your profiles?
No.
No. No.
Nobody?
Go for it.
No, fine.
No, fine with me. Pretty fine.
Very good. So if I don't hear a no, please scream otherwise. And you can see my screen well, right? Yep. Excellent. So I just looked you up the way I got you from the Excel sheet. So there is no particular reason for this ranking other than this was what it is. Elena, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Very good. Elena, sorry, you're the first. I'll just start from the top to bottom and give you some quick feedback on every single one of you. I'll try to not repeat many of the tips because some of you will get the tip from the previous person. Hopefully this is meaningful. Your profile picture is good. You know, it's very well centered, nothing to do there. Your background isn't really uplifting, but that is a taste of, a call of taste. Nothing wrong in there. Also your cover, you know, you as a thought leader talking in front of a number of faces, all of that looks good. Now, what you got here is you got HR HQ project manager at the Adecco Group. If you think about the headline and what we spoke about earlier, and of course this is your choice, right? HR HQ, I don't know what HQ necessarily adds in there, but I think you're missing an opportunity to make, how do you say, to make a statement or to, you know, to defend, to put your brand. Actually, the advice I gave earlier about your brand positioning, your statement, your headline, pretty much applies to every one of you because you all have a relatively boring, you know, neutral sounding standard job description, right? And again, it's your choice, but that's my observation. What you don't have, Elena, is a summary. By not having a summary in your profile, which would look basically like this. This is my summary, right? You're missing the opportunity to have high caliber keywords and more content in there. And that's a good possibility to summarize yourself and what you stand for. What you also don't have, Elena, is the script. You know, we have the titles: project HR, project manager, HR transformation. Here, corporate HR solution managers, HR system managers. So you feel free. I invite you to update your titles in the back. You can just leave them. You can say HR project manager. That's what you doppelpunkt, you know, dot, and then I don't know, passionately finding ways of having technology build better teams or whatever it is. You know, use it. You have the space. And also, what you haven't done is included any content underneath. You know, the fact that if as an example. Excuse me, there you go. See, all the content in here and all the rich media in here allows you to to basically advertise yourself a little more. So you can use that and give the algorithm further keywords to chew on. You've done a great job in connecting all your companies, with one exception. I'm assuming this company no longer exists, or maybe it does, but you've done a great job connecting your company with every single one of these employers you've had, which basically means that you are now closer to Siemens, closer to TDK, closer to BMW, Japan Tobacco International, and so on. So excellent job there. Skills and endorsements, PMO, project management, global HR projects rolls out. There you go. Human resources. So you got shared services, SAP implementation, change management, business process, marketing strategy. I don't know if it's true or not, but is marketing strategy really an important skill for you if you are in HR project management? Maybe it is, maybe it is not. I do not know. But you got SAP implementation, you got SAP HR, you got problem solving, talent management, negotiation, stakeholder engagement, new entities integration, global HR process, HR solutions work. I don't know if you've ever gone through this list. I'm not sure. These are all the skills that you want to pursue, but they don't look really that focused enough, at least to me. Some of them you might delete. So just go in there if you want and delete them. What you also, you got your education. What you don't have is, for example, languages or some other areas of your profile that you could include in there to beef it up a little further. You also have no recommendations. So yeah, that also through what we went earlier. I hope that helps. But the most important aspect I would recommend you, Elena, would be your headline, a summary, adding some content to your past jobs and current jobs, as well as asking for recommendations. Yeah?
Perfect, German. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Elena. Now we got Karsten. Karsten E. Karsten E has no last name and no picture, at least not to people that he's not connected with.
Okay, got that.
This is because Karsten doesn't want to be found, and Karsten is very secretive. If that is the case, Karsten, that is entirely your prerogative, don't get me wrong, right? But if you want to be more visible through LinkedIn, I recommend you make your name and profile visible to everyone.
By chance, do you know if that could be connected, that my premium ended?
No.
No.
Shouldn't.
Okay.
No, shouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. What is really cool is I see Silicon Platina here for you. So I immediately know, okay, he's some kind of a tech guy, IT, something, hardware. Okay, so that already tells me a cool story. You do have a summary. I do not know how keyword rich it is. I don't know if you've defined your keywords or not, but at least
I believe I need to go over it after today's session. Yes.
Very good. Now, now you got consultant and senior consultant. That is great. But here I have to see focus on professional project management for sustainable integrated business processes and master data governance. Those could be keywords. I'm not sure they are, but those could be keywords. If you say you want to be the integrated business process ninja, super master, right? Then putting that as senior consultant, doppelpunkt, sustainable integrated business process master, that would do the trick. You got some content in there, could elevate that. Great job in connecting everywhere. Cool. Here we got no recommendations on your site, so that's something I'd advise you go for. We got here.
Too many. I know.
All right. Well,
historically grown.
No, this is a beautiful champion story that I mentioned earlier. So this is what happens when you don't trim it. So I would recommend you go through here on your profile, go to the skills section in general. There you go, skills and endorsements. And in here, what you want to do is click on the little pen and basically trash everything, trash them away. Trash everything you don't want to be endorsed for. And by the way, once you've done that, make sure that the 3 top skills that you have in here, which you can move, by the way. You can move the skills up or down. You want to move to the top what I call the skills you are currently collecting on. So I do this regularly. I am collecting right now. Yeah. I am currently collecting endorsements for storytelling, brand management, and blockchain. Why? Because some of my previous ones are full. So digital marketing is hundreds. Strategy, got it. Social media, got it. Public speaking, done. Marketing, so on. So what I do is every time I get 99 plus endorsements on a skill, which sometimes takes just months, I will go to my skill section and pick one of the weaker skills and start collecting for them. So the top 3 are the ones you are most likely to be endorsed for. So, you know, now once I got 99 on each of them, I'll start moving them down. And the next one up there will probably be, I don't know, probably digital transformation, or I don't know what I'm going to collect next. But this is how you manage that, and you make your skills campaign for you. All right. What else? Good job here. Good job here. All of this stuff. This is good. This is further stuff. You speak Chinese. Kudos, man. Very good. And so, yeah, some rich content, some further details, especially keywords. Yeah, you got it, Karsten?
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure. Frederick Otten. Good picture. You could, you are a little bit far away in my personal taste, yeah, for me to recognize you, but it's, you know, it's a good picture. You know, end user computing, M&A execution lead, PMI. He might not be online. Huh? He might not be online. Frederick, are you not with us? Seems not. No. All right, Frederick, thank you. Let's move on to Malcolm Rice. From teamwork to achievement. That is, you know, that's a cool statement. It's actually, you've done a pretty good job, Malcolm, already in. It's probably also not. Oh, Malcolm, are you not with us? All right. It's missing. No, no. Okay, we'll keep going. Time is of the essence. Yvonne, is Yvonne with us?
I'm here. Hi.
Hi, Yvonne. Very friendly, you know, very friendly picture. All good. You're missing a cover in here.
Correct.
In my view, show that you're proud of Philip Morris if that's possible, or you want that, or brand building, or whatever it is. Brand building and innovation, that's at least, that is something that gives me something to work with, but still you probably can do better. PMO, you know what, you can beef that up quite certainly. You have you know, you have detail, you have a summary in here. It does look more like a summary written for a human being and not a summary written for a human being and an algorithm. I would invite you to think about that. Thank you. What else you have here? Yeah, the titles and the content. You are pretty cool. You have, that's something I really liked in your case, Yvonne. You have included each of the different steps and iterations and so on, because it gives you, see, if you want to be famous for project leadership, right? Then you are already, this is a very good positive example, Yvonne, if I may, for how to optimize a profile for project. You could just call it a Philip Morris International Project Management or something, 2012 to 2021, or what you've done, your project leader, senior project leader, project manager. I don't know the difference between project manager and project leader. That's for you to decide. Do you want to be found for one or for the other or for both? Did you have the lead in here? If you want to be specialized on project management and this is your keyword, project leader, then call it project leader, branding, building, and innovation, or project management.
Then how would you show there the evolution? Because that's a bit, I know this is specific to companies, right? The titles and how you evolve in the company, because that's a bit showing the evolution in terms of ranking as well.
Absolutely, and you do want to keep that. That's what I meant as a positive example. But what you can do is after each of these titles include ... and then color outside the line. So if, let's say you want to be famous for structuring complex projects, right? So project manager reduce risk products, complex or project leadership through one of the most complex structured projects that PMI has had in blah blah blah. You can, whatever fits in. I think you have you have at least 180 characters per job title and 220 characters for the headline. This is something LinkedIn changes regularly, but you try it out. If you can't type it in, then you're out of space, but use the space. Yeah. Tabaqueira is a Philip Morris affiliate. Tabaqueira, right?
Correct.
So actually, you've been working for Philip Morris for 5 years before you started working for Philip Morris.
Correct.
Well,
so there's a
that's something I would reflect in here by changing or connecting this to Tabaqueira. I do not know if they have a page. If they don't have a page,
they do. Yes.
Oh, there you go. Then it's probably
That's just me that needs to update.
That happens. That happens. Deloitte Portugal. Deloitte definitely has a company page. If not Deloitte Portugal, at least Deloitte.
Correct.
The fact that you were in Portugal is obvious because it says so. So yeah, I do not know if the Instituto Cervantes, Instituto Superior de Economía, or St. George, if they have pages or not. But if they do, check how they are written and make sure you connect with them. The moment you do that, you will come closer in degree of proximity to every single alumni of Instituto Cervantes Lisboa.
Okay, that's a big gap that I just noticed now when you mentioned it before.
Sure.
Thank you.
You got volunteer experience and so on. That's good. Now, in terms of skills, you got the drill from earlier. Think about which ones. And by the way, here's an example. You work at Tabaqueira at trade marketing. You have been endorsed by 9 people for trade marketing. If you know that trade marketing is no longer something you want to be famous for, nor that is likely to change in the next 10 years, take it out from here. Because it takes away from your credibility as a project manager, because it adds to your credibility as something else. And that's the phenomenon of the Swiss Army knife.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Recommendations, all the details, that applies to you too, Yvonne? Very good.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and you are, by the way, you're the only exception that is 3rd degree connected to me, which I am puzzled about and still in shock.
Yes, I heard you say that earlier in the conversation, and I was thinking, well, there is one that is not 2nd.
Yeah.
That's me.
Huh? Okay.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Urs isn't here with us. Pierre. Oh, Pierre went
I'm
with
here.
mountains. Hello,
I'm
Pierre.
here.
You went with mountains. Very good. Beautiful picture of yourself. Senior program manager, PhD, PMP. Cool. What type of program do you manage? Is that, or if make sure, or I invite you to, and define your keywords and enrich that, because that is, for someone that doesn't know you, this might be what they're looking for, but you're missing the opportunity to put in some further details. Delivering value with projects together, that is great for a human being reading it. The algorithm won't find any keyword in there other than projects. So, this is something that is quite a little challenging. We have to find the balance between being found by the algorithm and being liked by the human being that reads it. And we consume information entirely different. Algorithms are about keyword repetition. Human beings are about semantic, contextual. We like synonyms. Algorithms don't understand synonyms. So that is something that each one of you will have to balance on their own. But remember one sentence that I like to say in this context: in dubio pro algorithmus. So remember that. If you're next time not sure, okay, one keyword more or one less or one, in dubio pro algorithmus. You do want to have the balance, right? Because at the end, it's human to human, but this is a tool that will bring you closer to humans. Right, Lonza, Nestle, quite impressive. overall here, same stuff. You do have program management, product technology, product development. You know, that looks good. Whether you can feed it with further keywords or not, entirely up to you. It's difficult for me to know, Pierre. But yeah, other than that, looks pretty good. Foods, same on the skills as we discussed before and with others. Food processing, food technology, dairy products, food colloid science is, I don't know, did sound to me like maybe milk. You are famous for dairy products and milk. So maybe one of them is enough. Maybe you don't need any of them. I don't know. That's up to you. But yeah.
My question here is, I have an established profile in food industry.
Yeah.
But I moved 2 years ago, not even, I moved into pharma and biotech, which is completely different industry.
Yes.
The question is how really to do the branding now, because I will think about it, do the exercise, which is great. But in terms of skills, I cannot advertise on pharma as a skill yet, because I don't have the weight. I'm growing into this.
Exactly, but yes, you can. The first thing you need to do is delete the buckets that you no longer want to fill. So if you don't know and you loved the dairy production of food so much that you cannot wait to go back to it, then maybe don't take it away. But if you like pharma and you're unlikely to change back in the next 5 or 10 years or whatever, you're not seeking actively for food jobs, take them out, because they are collecting endorsements for things you no longer want to be endorsed for. Then you define the pharmaceutical specific keywords that you think are important for you, and you just put out the buckets there. Now, whether you have to prove yourself or not, and people will endorse you for them or not, but the first thing you want to do is you want to put a bucket in there that you can collect. It's like a street musician. Think about a street musician. If you're a terrible street musician and you put out a hat, people won't give you money. But if you have no hat, no matter how good you are, nobody will stop and throw, because they think you're playing for free. So you put the bucket out there and start collecting endorsements.
Well, that's a good example of algorithm versus human reader. So my understanding till today was I should put skills that are really established and are proven.
Yes.
And not only what I would like to be found for by an algorithm, whether there is content or not.
There you go. But now you know it. It's called fake it until you make it.
Okay.
Very good. All right, I'll rush a little faster. We got Roger.
Thank you.
Sure, my pleasure. Roger.
On the call, I guess.
Roger, Director of Pre-Sales at MediaKind. Very cool. I don't know what MediaKind is. I assume it has something to do with helicopters.
Not quite, but yeah.
Well, then you have confused me.
Okay, fair enough.
German.
Yes.
German. I have a question about the banner open to work.
Yeah.
Do I have to use it? Not in some occasion?
You can define it yourself. There is two ways of showing it.
I understand how to make it, but the use of this open work, does it help you or not? Or...
Honestly, my opinion, and this is not proven based on research, because I haven't tried it myself. I thought about trying it myself, but I am so not in favor of them that I wouldn't, I didn't even want to dare to do the exercise of putting that on my profile. Open to work implies that you are open for business. To me, an open, or it might imply that you're open to get a job offer, or it might imply that you're open to network. Now, here's the thing. You are on LinkedIn. That already means you are open to network. That already means you are open for job offerings. 91% of everyone on LinkedIn is open for a job offer. So it doesn't add anything. I expect you to be open. It's like you don't go to a party and put yourself a sign that says, I'm here to dance. Or I'm open to dance. I might consume food. Well, that's the reason you're here, right?
Okay.
you know,
Okay, thank you.
So I would take it out. I would take it away.
Okay, good. Thank you.
People expect you to be open to work.
Fair enough.
Cool.
So if I would have in my team somebody put that on, so then that gives me mixed feeling. Did he quit in his mind already?
100%.
Of course.
And then, but that makes him not eligible for the next salary raise round.
Absolutely not.
Increase of the career.
Yeah, absolutely. If I see that on actually, but this is well, I don't want to go on the whole future of work and HR and how HR is broken and so on. But if you have to find out through LinkedIn that one of your employees is not happy with his or her job, then you're a terrible boss. Mm-hmm. So you don't deserve you don't deserve to retain them. So just yeah, but it is quite demonstrative, and yeah, it becomes quite obvious. Cool. Yep. Roger or Roger?
Either way is fine.
All right. So yeah, basically. Here you had an example, you know, guest lecturer, director, pre-sales. Here you have also more possibilities to include guest lecturer on.
Yep.
What is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Senior program manager, and you know, OTT. You know, if you, I don't know, if you want to be famous for OTT applications or for I don't know, next generation or innovation or I don't know, senior project manager, you know, responsible for innovating the technology experience or
Okay, no, definitely. So
yeah. Same here, Berufsschule zu. I don't know if all of them, you know, make sure, guys, make sure you all connect to the right institutions. Blue Wing and oh, you were at Zurich. Look at you. Swiss Air.
There's a few companies which don't exist anymore. So
yes.
I fixed it already I fixed some of it already.
But Swiss Air is now Swiss International.
No.
Oh, okay. Swiss Air is dead.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
That is the...
We'll do a minute of silence later. Okay, there you go. Yeah, pay TV, agile waterfall, but you're right now at MediaKind. I don't know if you need that, if this is good, but
yeah. MediaKind is pay TV. Yeah. So okay. Yeah, but that needs to be clarified.
And you've done a great job, Roger, asking for recommendations. Ladies and gentlemen, please have a look at Roger. Applaud his how you say his many recommendations, and you, Roger, keep going, ask for more. You can't have it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Roger. Obviously, you know, I don't want to repeat things I've told before. You please follow up if I'm missing something. But some of the things I've told to the previous profiles might apply to you yourself, as you might know.
Sure.
Very cool.
Thank you.
What's with the helicopter?
Yeah, I think in my next life I'm going to be a helicopter pilot. So I did that once for skiing. So.
Okay.
It doesn't link. It just looks cool.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Whatever it is that you're selling in this life, maybe you want to put that there.
Fair enough.
And with the money you earn from that, you get yourself a helicopter. Raul, director Radiometer. I don't know what you direct, but I congratulate you to be so senior.
Thank you. It's kind of interesting that I see that now that the banner is gone. Actually.
Yes. Yes, it is. Your picture is very friendly, but it's a little pixely, right? And a little bit far away. So I don't know. Maybe you want to zoom in into your face. You are a beautiful young man. Show us. Show us. Yeah. You could beef up your summary a little. And to me, this is a very good example of the title used properly. Because if I read director, and I only underneath, I read operations, HR, and finance, then I'd rather read director, ... responsible for operations, HR, and finance, assuming those are keywords you want to be found for. And now here you are a managing consultant, but you were a managing consultant, assuming that's what you want to be famous for, ... or managing consultant for medical devices and life sciences. That makes a difference if you want to be famous for medical devices and life sciences, which I don't know. Or if you want to be famous for product development strategies, then you want to be managing consultant for product development strategies, right? You're always quite obvious, but gives you a lot of room to talk about how you were responsible for this shit, right? So there you go. Other than that, great job in connecting everything, most of it. Education, Offenburg. Medical devices, product development. Yeah, skills might apply or may not apply, what we've heard before. You have received no recommendations, but given 3. I want to see a few here. I want to see here. I want to see 20. Can you do that for me, Raul?
Sure.
Awesome. Cool. I'll check you out next week. So you hurry up, buddy. Hurry. Very cool. All right. All the the rest, beef it up, keep going. Very cool. Oops. No.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I need to move. I don't want to go with the thing. Now we got Yoshar. Yoshar. I love your picture, Yoshar. Great job. Very friendly, very focused. Yeah, awesome. Perfect. This is Wädenswil, right? Or Stefa or something.
It's Lake Geneva.
Ah, Geneva. Yeah. Swiss lakes. Love them. It's like Swiss mountains. You can't do wrong. They all look the same. Beautiful. Advancing medicines and technologies towards patients. Have you just created that today, or did you have it before?
I had it before.
Very good.
I wanted to kind of like instill some curiosity what that means, so that they invite them to read my summary. So.
And this is exactly. Thank you. Well, sorry. Thank you, Joshua. This is exactly a good example. This is a good example of what I meant by making a statement as opposed to, right? So you could beef it up further. You could use more space. But still, advancing medicines and technologies towards patients. That's a statement. That's something that helps me, and that is more concrete as a value proposition than program manager, right? So great job there. Still, you could do more. You could beef it up further. But for the rest, beefing. Oh, here, what you got? You could include more content in here, and B, again, also here, beefing up your titles wherever you can or wherever you want. Other than that, biotechnology, biopharmaceutical skill recommendations, you've received a few. Cool. You can do more. You've had so many colleagues you've worked with. They all love you. I can tell that already. So ask them to write great stuff about you, because they're gonna do that, and that's gonna help you further. English, German, very good. Yeah, some of you have also included some other stuff in here. So yes, that's something you can definitely. You've already done a good job in. So you could beef it up further and squeeze in further keywords once you've defined the keywords you want to do.
Understood. Thank you.
My pleasure. And now we got Marcos Signorella. Marcos Signorella in the call?
No.
Very good. Well, terrible, but let's keep. Astrid is with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello, Astrid. Project manager. What projects do you manage? Strategic projects. What is a strategic project? What strategic projects do you manage?
Reorganization.
Okay. Well, that starts becoming a keyword. Assuming, again, I'm not sure, but if you say, reorganization, organizing or reorganizing or structuring or, agile, that's what you're all about, then that's something that you could show in here. I love your picture. I'm not a huge fan of messy backgrounds in general. They are destructive, but your picture is so friendly and so nice. I'm not sure I would change it. So, but you have no cover. So don't let your cover down. You do not have a summary in here. You could, and also you have a list of positions, but not really. They're not really saying much. Strategic projects, Brexit impact mitigation coordination is the closest I got to getting what it is that you do. So yeah, senior legal coordinator for patents, and that's something. If you define what your keywords are, you will probably know better how to beef up, in which direction you want to beef up your project. Ask for recommendations and fill out some of the stuff in here. For example, you have no skills right now. You've got a skill section, so you can do that. So yeah, very good. Moving on, Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc,
Yes.
there you are.
Yes.
Yeah, you got your how you say your little web. Like I like that because I got the same myself. Chef de projet génie civil. I don't know what génie civil means. It looks like a genius, so it looks cool to me. Technology, experience, multicultural and international. So yeah, this I'm not. How you say? I'm not an expert in the field, but it looks like you're already starting to make a statement about that goes more, or that goes beyond your simple job title. Your profile is in French.
Yes.
I would recommend you. Oh, this is really good. What you got in here. I would recommend you to create a second profile in English, which you can do, and it can be tied to your existing profile. So if you don't know how to do that, you go to.
I know.
Okay, and for everybody else, eventually, if you go to your profile, right where you had this edit profile URL, if I have a profile in several languages, I have a profile in German and in English. And if you don't, you will find here, create profile in another language. And if you click on it and you select the language, and then you got to go through everything all over again. I'm sorry for that. But a lot of people on LinkedIn search in English. So that's helpful if you have your profile in English and optimize for that. So Jean-Luc, what else we got? Yeah, you owner, yeah, owner of what? What? I can read it. I know I can read it.
Okay.
But you do want to elevate that a little further. So yeah, same principle here. Connecting correctly. You do have. You have a couple of, yeah, I knew I was going to find someone that is famous for Microsoft Office. There you go. So here we got it, Microsoft Office. And here you have also English and German, but this belongs underneath. And yeah, you get the idea. This is a good champion stuff. If you don't build websites on WordPress, take WordPress out of here. Ask for more recommendations. And yeah, other than that, beat it up with keywords.
Okay, thank you.
Herman Overhuber. With us?
Yes.
Hello, Herman. Senior project manager. Okay, we end up always going there. You're a project manager for what? Right? Tell me your story. Tell me your story. Senior project manager, clinical operator. I don't really know much about what you do unless you beef it up a little for me. Project Management Institute. This is what we are here right now. Fine. If you connect that to the proper PMI page, you should be able to be closer to everyone that's been part of that. Or like this one, PMP, maybe it's the same there.
It's the same, yeah.
Then it should look like it's probably. Skills, clinical trial, clinical development, drug development. No, this looks probably good. This is probably correct.
Yeah.
If not, you want to change that. Recommendations also here. Other than that, it looks quite good, but just relatively thin. It's really so.
That's right. Yeah, I need to beef it up. That's okay.
Beef it up. Beef it up. Maxence Feta.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello, Maxence.
Hello.
Hello. Cool picture, black and white. Is this style choice? Nothing wrong with that. Add your cover. Senior software architect and project manager. I think you know what I'm going to say, right?
Yeah.
Very good. So I won't say it. What I like about it is you have here also, I believe Jean-Luc had that too, a series of bullet points and so on in the summary. This is what starts becoming the beginning, a keyword optimized profile. However, you haven't done so here. So team leader for what? What team? What do you lead? And what? It's adesso. I don't know adesso. This could be a bakery and you are in the floor in the morning baking bread. Or, I don't know. What are you doing? So, yeah, .NET consultant, and I don't know if these T-Systems has got a LinkedIn page. Any company that has a LinkedIn page, no excuse not to connect to them. I don't know if the Systems France has one, but if not, the Systems has one. Licenses, certifications, I love when I see all that. C++, project management, whoop, whoop, yeah. This looks about right. Since I don't understand any of it, it probably makes sense to those who are supposed to understand it. So it's not you, it's me. Ask for some recommendations, and other than that, congratulations for all these accomplishments.
Thank you.
Very good. Daniel Sigrist, I think you are my last one. Hello, Daniel.
Hi.
There you go. Friendly picture and never go wrong with mountains. So that's so far so good. Application manager by the Zuricher Kantonalbank. What application manager for what type of applications, or for, is that are those your keywords? Are is that the whole story? If I read application manager, I know you're doing something around IT, but I don't know more. Maybe that's Teamleiter, Projektleiter. This is something you could write. Initiativer Teamleiter und Projektleiter mit langjähriger und vieljähriger Erfahrung in der komplexen Softwareentwicklung im Industrie- und Dienstleistungssektor mit Bodenhaftung und Freude an der Technik. That sounds much closer to a post-it pitch of you than what you have in the top. So it's a little long, it's not focused, it's not keyword optimized, but that's the kind of statements we're looking for. Yeah.
It's also in English there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Application manager, senior project manager.
Yes, this can be enhanced.
There you go. Good man. Very cool. Vice-President, from the rest, I think you're good. Software and project management. This is an interesting typical thing. You are an expert in project management, and you're an expert in project management. One is in German, one is in English. Pick one and kill the other. Because simply put, you would be famous by, 12 people think you're good at project management, but 8 people think that in German, and 4 people think that in English. And if you give them only one choice, likely they will think all in the same language.
Will LinkedIn translate these words, or will it just find the English one?
Oh, absolutely. And you can delete them and change them and shape them. You need to bend LinkedIn to your will. Offshore team management, offshore project management, offshore software development. It's a lot of offshore. Maybe this is needed. I'm not an expert, but maybe it isn't. So yeah. Other than that, looking good, Daniel.
Thank you.
Very good. Now the rest we got is we got Daniel here in the room. Daniel.
No banner.
Sorry?
Banner.
Yeah, no banner. Your picture is not really good. Okay. The light, it's not, it's okay. Everything is, but I think you can do better. Yeah. I would, get yourself a better camera, a better cameraman or woman, or, hire a photographer. Senior project manager at IBM, you know what I'm going to say, right? What projects do you manage? I am an TNT project manager, IBM certified senior project manager, or program portfolio say specialist with more than 30 years of comprehensive. Here, this is your story. Now wrap that up, shorten it into 220 characters, and give me a headline. So yeah, senior project management, IBM. I would connect all things to IBM because this is IBM. If you don't have a company, then the thing that comes closest to it, IBM Switzerland, connecting to the right educations. Other than that, obviously you are an absolute IBM hero, which is great. Don't know about, oh, here we go. Microsoft Office.
Also.
There you are. There you are. All right. And so, yeah. And we see this quite often. Things like, I don't know, you are an expert in, it says right now it's not the case, but sometimes you're an expert in contract negotiation and an expert in negotiation, an expert in leadership and an expert in team leadership. So, it's tidy up, tidy up. So, What else we got? Recommendations, bring them on, rest as above. Isatu.
Yeah, that's me.
That's you, Isatu.
Yeah.
We got the banner, open to work. Very good. So you're not business. That is awesome. I can't see your last name. That might be a reason for that, but if not, you may want to allow me to. Business project support manager, executive virtual event coordinator. That is actually one of the closest ones that comes clear to me understanding what you do, but still, you might do better and make a statement. What else we have? Oh, nice. Very good. I like this. This is keyword optimization. See, I had to click on read more to see it, but it's my fault that I did. London Borough of Barnet, you're not really connected to some of these companies. They might not have business landing pages on LinkedIn, but in case they do, you do want to look for that.
Some of them are local government in London. So
yeah, that's fair enough. Oxfam and so on. So yeah, for the rest, towards the end of we end up. I don't want to repeat myself too much because I've been saying that, but yep, you got where is Excel? There you go, Microsoft Office and Microsoft Excel. Very good for you. So yeah, you probably do want to take some of these out. Some of them are duplicated or are irrelevant or right. Very good. Language, French, German, all good. Cool.
So
yeah,
I just have to work on my recommendation because I only have one recommendation currently.
That is
one
correct.
or two recommendations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most recent ones. Yeah. Okay. Great.
But you could also try to beef up your titles a little and clean up your skills. Yeah. A little bit of homework there.
All right. Thank you very much for that.
My pleasure. And last but not least, we got Freddie. Freddie, very friendly, good picture. Could be, it's a little small, but it's, well light, all good. Yeah, maybe a little pixely if you zoom it in, but good enough. Background, head of COE, Center of Weight and Balance, Lufthansa Group, and head of IT to business alignment, align ops. Okay. It's the beginning of a headline. Have you faked this one during today? No? Okay.
The background on it, but it doesn't show up yet.
Okay. Yeah, but you probably can't. Yeah, this is the Center of Excellence, Balance, Lufthansa head of IT to business alignment, airline operations. Yeah, it looks like a very complicated position you're in more than a collection of your value proposition. But yeah, specialties. This is very, very good because it's a keyword optimized. If these are your keywords, but you can probably put them contextually so that human beings like it. Okay, senior manager and senior project manager is a classic example of what do you do? Give it to me. And the same here. So, what type of projects, what type of
the basics here.
Yes, exactly, the basics. Also beefing it up with some more content and so on. PMP, project portfolio management, which it's software project management. PMO, agile project delivery, service delivery at the source. Yeah, this looks quite clean. IT management and IT service management. I don't know if these are all, but yeah, it doesn't look like champignoni like we've seen before. Recommendations. There you go. Skills you got, education you got. Yeah. All right.
Okay. Good.
Sorry. For that, we are far above the time. First of all, thank you for bearing with me while I did the rest of walking you through your profiles. Which was, that slide in here. Thank you for bearing with us a little longer. Hope that was relevant for you. Trying to give you very, very quick feedback after having heard how to build it. I hope with that, with your feedback, with the examples you've seen from others, and with the right mindset, you guys can fix it. Because next Saturday, I'm going to be looking at you again, and I can't see Microsoft Office anywhere, or I want to know what project managers you manage as, right? So yeah, if you got any questions, you can Google it, or you can give me a call. Here are my details. Other than that, I hand back to Freddy. I hope it was a relevant, helpful session. And whilst you have worked on your profile and presences, next week, we're going to go and conquer the market with each one of you. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Was
you,
very
bye.
good. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Question to Freddy. Hello. Will you send out the slides right afterwards?
Yeah, we will organize that. I just wanted to ask you whether you have another 5 or 10 minutes.
Yes.
And give us some feedback. And feedback is important for us. If you see what we can improve for next Saturday. So I open the stage for feedback.
Yeah, actually, I had at the very beginning connection problems. I'm very used to running Zoom meetings within a company. I'm home office based, but I don't know, the link didn't, it worked. It showed me the PMI logo and test audio, but that's it. It was very challenging to find my way. That's why I was always also a bit late, actually. So I don't know what the reason for this was.
Same for me.
Same here.
For me too.
Yeah. Okay. So we will check next Saturday then better if somebody wants to get in and if we overlook that, because we have to let in one after the other into the conference.
Okay.
Because it's a bit a different conference since you are paying for that. We want to make sure that only paying registered paying members can get in.
And maybe one more comment. I did not use or was not asked to use the password or the code actually. So I'm not sure that this clarifies or helps.
I think that's okay because you had to be let in, so you wouldn't need
okay.
that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Any other feedbacks?
One compliment from my side. It was great that Herman was standing, so it was like almost like you are live there, and you would see what is happening and how it is happening. Because sitting on the chair, this is just boring, and I really like that. So thanks, Herman.
Gracias, Elena.
Yeah, maybe also a comment from my side, when it comes to the camera, I think you used the one from a MacBook, right? Maybe an external camera would actually help, and also distance to the camera, from the size of the picture or where you position in the picture would be maybe a little bit different.
Okay, we have another camera. We had a further camera. Yeah, the one I have from the Mac and my interaction with it is it's a little wild, but that's why the team have put here a second camera.
Okay.
From further back.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry. I sometimes am a little wild in front of the camera. I apologize for that.
Yeah. The idea was with the classroom camera. Unfortunately, the battery died, and I didn't realize because it was so interesting to watch Herman here. So I didn't. I missed the point to plug it in then. But we tried to set it up, and also we tried to set up the lighting a bit better. Unfortunately, the blinds are broken here on the left of me, so that's we have with the lighting. We need to improve that. Okay, anything else?
No.
It was interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great to hear.
Yeah. Great session. Thanks a lot. Food for thought. I'm taking a different look at this now, and this is why I was so curious to join this masterclass. I was just questions remaining. It's true. We have to think about the algorithm and the human being reading it, the text. So both. It's important to consider both. The aspect of credibility. I was wondering, when you describe in your summary who you are, what you're passionate about, etc. So when you browse a bit, you have a look different profiles. People describe what they are passionate. They're passionate. They're empathetic. They're thriving, etc. How about credibility? How about achieving the right balance to describe who you are and what is really your uniqueness, your brand, etc. But still be credible. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's a great question. There are mostly three key components that will add to your credibility, and only one of them is in your own hand. The most important one will be your recommendations. So, for example, I say, or I'm not actually, I don't think I say that, but I might say that I'm very passionate about technology and humanity and whatever. Now, if you go through my recommendations, you will read a lot of people confirming that. So this is one of the reasons why recommendations can be helpful, not only in adding visibility to your profile through the keywords and overall, but also in adding credibility to it. Because if 80 people say that you are a great, insightful, creative, strategic, visionary leader, then you probably don't even have to say it yourself, or at least if you say it, people will buy it. The second one might be the skills, which are like recommendations light, if you wish. You say, I'm an expert in digital strategy, and my skills says that 350 people have confirmed that I'm an expert in digital strategy. It's likely that will help cementing that. The third is, and we're going to go through that next Saturday, has to do with how you demonstrate your expertise and your skills through your activities. So in other words, if I say that I'm a great expert in marketing and I regularly write and share and contribute to the marketing conversation in a relevant, insightful, and expert way, it's not that you're going to believe it or not, you will experience my expertise. You will consume it, and it will. I say I'm an inspiring leader, and I am putting out inspiring statements that will undermine, cement that and underline the fact that I am an expert. So yeah.
Because this summary about yourself, if it's isolated and enriched in keywords, it might be very okay, I see. But this to give weight to the profile, I think that's a big effort.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think we got all homework to do, and we're going to be on that next week. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that session. I would like to thank also my team, Aisatu helping us here with the technique, and Daniel also, who is here. And yeah, I wish you a nice weekend. Thanks a lot, and see you next Saturday.
Thank you. Sorry, just before you go, may I add something? So for next week, when you are logging in, try the meeting ID and the passcode. So log in that way, because I tested it just now, and the link alone did not work. It took a while. So